best weekends of my life right here. That's why I ain't said nothing.
All right.
I was going to say a lot.
Ready?
So
Yes,
it's
man.
on
All right, we here at day 2. You know, this is the last day for the cats out on TV land. When I get this joint, day 1 was off the chain. Everybody could attest to it. My mother tore it down. Black Dot really tore it down, and we're gonna continue today. And it's actually an honor to be up here introing this next brother. The first time I seen him and Black Dot was on the 5 Bloodlines of Hip Hop. Him, Brother Rich, and I was like, man, who is this big head dude? You know what I'm saying? Who is this big head dude with all of this fancy wordplay? Nah, I'm just bugging. Like, he actually really tore it down and really went in, and like I could attest, I ain't never looked at hip hop the same since the 5 Bloodlines of Hip Hop. You really had to go back and really do the knowledge, because, you know, we look at things sometime from, you know, a very linear perspective because of the indoctrination we've been dealing with. So somebody comes and actually pushes the envelope. One of my favorite phrases from this brother is challenge the text. I never heard that from no place else. Everybody else just goes in and gets their work done, but he actually challenges the text, and that's what he enables you to do through this sacred art. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together and give a strong black hand to A.A. Rashid.
My brother, thank you. Thank you. Talking about my big head, right? Funny guy. Thank you. It's an honor to be here in Germany with the human family of my brothers and sisters, and I am enjoying myself. Germany is a beautiful place. It's very clean because, and I see it's because the people have a national spirit. Something missing in the States. In the States, it's an amalgamation of so many various people from all over the world, but the people who are indigenous to the land in the States are under the deepest level of mind control ever that the world has ever seen. They are under the impression, the large majority of them, that they came to the land in a slave ship, when the reality is that we have always been in North America, Central and South America, as an indigenous people operating within the confines of what it is to be a civilized people. So when I come here, I see it's very significant that this country and the people have a national spirit, something which is missing so much back at home. So I want to also say thank you to the brothers and sisters who are at home, the authentic loyalists who care not about the cult of personality, who don't care about the private life of the speakers, who are not gossiping, who are not trying to, as agent provocateurs, destroy what we have back home. The real people, I thank you very much for validating the message and allowing it to be able to come across seas and be here and make manifest in the form of us being here with Brother Curtis Gilliard and his family. Okay, so the title, I had changed the title of this lecture. At first I wanted to make the lecture, did we have another light on? This is it? Okay. I wanted the title of the lecture, I wanted to pertain it to specifically Kabbalah as it is from the German perspective. However, I said, you know what? I don't think I should come to Germany to speak about Germany, because the people in Germany might know a whole lot about Germany and they don't want to hear about Germany, right? at least from the perspective that I am presenting. The next presenter is the one who is going to rectify and clarify all things pertaining to Germany in reference to its role in the life of the indigenous folks on the planet. Okay? And that's Brother True Master. So I said, I am going to speak about some facets of Freemasonry that I have been putting into my lectures piece by piece, trying to formulate a manner for the brothers who are not the exoteric Freemasons who eat pig fat and ribs and have parties and do raffles. I'm talking about, and our Christians, I'm talking about the Freemasons who are constantly at ISIS trying to remove her veil, trying to see what's going on. The ones who are always trying to find the underlying meanings of their craft. So I am going to speak about some precursory elements of it, and I will tell you that the true meaning and the true secrets of Freemasonry, there are no secrets. Well, let's start by saying this, that there's no such thing as a secret, period. If one and all is one, then we all share the same Akashic record. If one of you ail, we all ail. My through line to find the truth, I use Kabbalah. What is it? Kabbalah means simply to receive. If we were to go to Israel and go to a store and buy a soda and come outside, they give us a receipt, and on the receipt it would say in Hebrew, Kabbalah. It just simply means to receive. As it relates to a spiritual system, it corresponds with your ability to assimilate and receive truths. Truths which are not apparent to the two eyes, right? Those underlying truths which lie within the psyche. That is where the sanctum sanctorum, or the sacred place where all things come out in open. Now, in this aeon of time in which we're in presently, what is occurring is the truth is now no longer a thing of fiction. The truth now is an organic entity, all in and of itself. The truth is a declaration solely of the person in the vantage point. The person speaks a truth into existence, and it doesn't even make a difference as to what you're saying. You can say anything you want to say in this aeon as we approach the galactic center, and anything that you say will come into being. When Brother Curtis's mother was up here yesterday and she was speaking about prayer, from my esoteric understanding of what prayer is, I know she wasn't talking about praying to, anthropomorphic expression of what we have been taught God is. She's speaking to source, because she knows source channels itself through its slices of itself. We are all a slice of the grand source, so you have a connection, you can utilize it. So now as we approach this aeon, you and I must be very mindful of what we say, what we think, and the anchors of thinking and word. Primarily in that, as we approach the galactic center, our sun will begin to channel to us everything out of the cosmic mother's womb. Out of cosmic womb comes all the gifts and benefits of whatever you need in this world. If we take a close look and observe nature, nature needs nothing. We are the only thing that has the word need in our paradigm. Like a bird does not have need, right? Animals, so simple, the ones we think we are so far beyond in advance, have no concept of need. We are the only ones who have codified in our language limitation. We put in our language limitation for the simple fact that we presently don't have, or we actually do, but we don't share the unified field of consciousness as we should, all of humanity, because we don't share the same myth. Okay? So what is myth? What is myth? Can anyone tell me what a myth is? What does myth mean to you?
Well, I don't know the actual definition or anything, but to me, it's like it's a story not to be taken literally, but if you read between the lines, you'll learn the actual truth.
Well, well, any answer rendered today, and this is interactive when we speak, any answer is the right answer. Even if it's off, the utterance of it, and when we take in consideration what is time and the fact that there is no such thing as the past and the future, the only thing that exists is the now. What you say now is your best part, and that's your understanding. So everything that you said segues to it. Anyone else? I would like to hear from others. What is a myth?
Something that's a story or a thought or something that's passed on or known, but is not defined or 100% defined as 100% true by whatever source of someone saying, okay, this is validated or that's validated. This is
Right. Right. Now, a myth, have you ever asked someone how to, for instance, without you showing me, can you tell me how to operate a car? Right? And when the person sits there and they tell you how to operate a car, actually without you and them being behind the wheel, they are expressing to you a whole visual context for your psychology to remember in order for you to get into the actual vehicle and be able to operate it. A myth is the instruction for soul to participate in the physical world. All world's myths, Greek, Kemetic, from Mali, Dogon, Voodoo, wherever you're at, these myths are psychological tools which aid your mind to self-actualize itself. You were born knowing everything and then you soon forgot. When you were born, you knew how to swim, you knew everything, and then you forgot. The last thing you knew how to do is how to eat, sleep, and shit. Those are the last things you remembered. Everything else cosmic, you forgot. But now, as you experience matter and you walk the walk of the protagonist, like in every story, the hero, that's you that they're speaking about, right? Walking the myth, walking it, you begin to actualize who you are, your role. You begin to have an identity. You begin to be strong. You begin to be firm. And then now you learn how to slay those dragons and those demons around you who attempt to undermine your progress and what you attempt to do. See? So now, what Freemasonry has offered humanity is a sneak peek. Actually, when I say, let me rephrase what I just said. What Freemasonry offers the Western psychology, right? Western psychology, when I say Western psychology, I'm speaking about post-Prussian education, everything that has been taught the world how to think from a Eurocentric perspective is the Western mind. Now, the Western mind requires a spiritual system, right? So now, what is the spiritual system? The overwhelming one, the one that hovers above all. The one that hovers above all Western systems of spirituality is Judaism. By proxy, if you are a Christian, you are a Jew. Because Jesus was what? In your mythology, he was what? An extension from the line of what? David? Judah is a Jew, right? Muslims, the Quran doesn't even introduce any new prophets except for Muhammad. All the other prophets exist in all the other books, right? By proxy, it is Judaic in its essence, right? So now there are 4 major religions in the Western world: Judaism, Christianity, Islam, and Freemasonry. Freemasonry, however, is an amalgamation of the 3 that I just said before. Islam is the ritual. The book resides in Judaism. My brothers who are initiates understand and know, if you ever been to a grand session or when you were circumambulating in your ritual, you know that is Christian. I don't care what nobody say. That's Christian. Okay? So Freemasonry is the fourth pillar, which encompasses all of the other elements. But the thing about Freemasonry is that it calls God the grand architect of the universe, thus allowing you, the initiate, an ability to begin to now see God as an actual hands-on fixer and builder of the physical world. Now, what happens is, in this psychology and in this mythology, what happens is you begin to imbue within yourself, you begin to learn and understand that you are actually one of his workers. So while you're down here, you're taking everything that's imperfect and you're breaking off all of the superfluous edges, making things right, making things plain, clean. See? Right? So now, psychology is the very foundation of all of existence. Without it, you can't function. You need a fundamental system, a functioning system in which to think. Yes? Okay, and that thinking process is considered psychology. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the presentation, which is visual, and we're going to go through some of the slides. Now, I use this picture for a specific reason. Who has ever seen the movie, what was that movie with, was it The Red Dragon? Yeah. With Hannibal? Yeah. Now, wasn't that the movie where the guy ate the painting? Yes. That was a William Blake painting. William Blake was a Kabbalist. This picture in particular is by William Blake, and this one is, I think it's called The Ancient of Days. And what it is a Kabbalistic representation of divine masculine intent. Now, as a creature of his time, the gentleman has depicted the Ancient of Days as someone who appears to be himself, which is, if you go to China, Jesus is Chinese. You go to Dominican Republic, you can't tell nobody in Dominican Republic that Jesus ain't no goddamn Dominican. You understand what I'm saying? So you look according to the cultures of where you're at. Now, now I'll do this down. Yep. Now, the origins of Freemasonry are buried in a shallow grave of ancient symbolic psychology and myth. Very interesting. Does anyone know what this depiction is? What this defines, this depiction? It's a what?
Coffin.
It's a coffin. And at the head of the coffin, what do we see? We see what?
Star.
Well, there's a star here. But we see this here. What is this? A tree. Okay? So now it's actually a plant. And the plant in which it is it's called an acacia plant.
Sprig of acacia.
Right. The sprig of acacia. Now, the sprig of acacia was placed at the head of the master builder's grave in an attempt for those who buried him to be able to find him. Now, I, utilizing Kabbalah as my through line to understand almost anything that I deal with, when I embossed Kabbalah on top of Freemasonry, I found that Freemasonry is nothing but Kabbalah. Kabbalah is, in a sense, the fourth religion out of the 3 Western religions, shrouded within the rituals and the symbols of Freemasonry. So now when I went to go look at what is the Hebrew equivalent of the word acacia, I found that the word acacia equals the number 314. Now, the number 314 is very significant in that the number 314 symbolizes what? All of us have went to school, right? We all know math, right? Who remembers how to find the circumference of a circle? Oh, pi. Right? Do we got to brush up on our algebra and stuff like that? Okay. So now you remember the other form of pi, the irrational form, was 22/7. Right? So now, when I saw that the Hebrew cognate, right, for the Hebrew word for the sprig of acacia or acacia it's called shittah, right? I said, well, let's look at the root of the word shittah. From a phenomenological root, the term means from shut, we get the word soot, we get set, we get sithro. Who have ever heard of sithro in the Bible when they talk about sithro? Well, sithro is that which is hidden, or that which is encased in the darkness. So what I like to do is when I speak, I like to challenge language, as the brother says. Go into it, look at the language, and let the book tell us what the ancients were saying. Don't let Jimmy Swaggart and the preacher on Sunday tell you what the text is saying. You go into the text yourself, word for word, and when I say word for word, each letter in the Hebrew Bible is an entire word. Three letters in Hebrew can be an entire sentence. Now, because it's a language based in the concept, the mind, the cosmic mind of nature. Nature never takes the long route to get to her point. She always goes straight to the point. So she don't need a lot of words to explain herself. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Now, she don't need a dictionary with 800,000 words in it to express one reality. So now, I went to look for some quotes pertaining to myths, and I found this one to be very significant. It says, we can keep from a child all knowledge of earlier myth, but we cannot take from him the need for mythology. So what is occurring now is that in this realm of indoctrination, people are being born with their myths already made for them. And many of us are operating within these myths, and we are giving them truths. We are operating within the truth of that. Like, it is a myth that if you have a gun and you wear the color blue and a badge, that I could shoot you, that they could shoot you. That's a myth that you accepted. You understand? It's a myth every time you go into the courtroom and they tell you to stand up. The Honorable so-and-so is now presiding. That is a mythology that you are participating in. You think that because he wears a black robe and sitting up high, right? Be in front of, in God we trust. I don't know what they say in the States. I don't know how here in the States, in God we trust, behind the judge, right? And then you have to honor him. That's a myth, right? Myth, and this is from a gentleman called Gustav Jung, the founder of analytical psychology. Jung is also the one who introduced us into the realm of archetypes, the Western world into the realm of archetypes, and how significant archetypes are for the mind of the whole world. Do you know that one symbol can connect us all together? And that one symbol that has been the most pervasive means to unify everybody in this last few, aeon has been 9/11. 9/11 means the same thing to everybody on the planet. I have personally felt a difference in the vibration of the planet and how you interact with human beings on the planet post 9/11. It was a whole different look before that. In a sense, things have calmed down, but people have dumbed down. in a sense, you know. Now, another psychologist, and Dr. Amos Wilson, he says Eurocentric history as mythology creates historical amnesia in Africans. Now, this is very significant when reality exists within and only in the minds of the world's indigenous people. The world's indigenous people are the ones who give validation and credence to all other people on the planet. To put your reality into the realm of formation, you must get it past us. If we accept it, look at what we did to Christianity. We took Christianity to new heights, right? Yeah. We're the ones that's going to make Jesus come down here in the flesh. It's going to be us with them tambourines, them organs, and jumping up and down, right? We did wonders with Islam. We turned Islam. You go to Africa and go check out what Islam is in Africa. Islam is done turned into the most powerful form of magic on the western coast of Africa. It is so powerful that when the people from the States, the politicians, I saw a picture with Colin Powell going to Senegal, and he had to forget going to see the people in the political arena in the country. He had to go see the sheikhs, the ones who sit down and write magical sigils on paper and sell them to people. There's big magic in West Africa. We did that. We incorporated Islam and put our spin on it and made it into something else. So everything we touch, we turn into gold because we channel that. Now, mythology has the ability to define the present construct of our organic reality and can be used to manipulate social and political circumstances. Hitler used a theological mythology of social nationalism, which was based from the mythology of the indigenous Germanic tribes of priests known as the Armenen, known most for their runic magic. So if you ever seen anyone throw stones, you ever seen that as a means of divination, or bones as a means of divination? Well, the Germans used to do it as well. So how do you think that Hitler was so successful in his endeavors? It was because his endeavors were rooted in spiritual principles. He dealt with spirit over politics. Spirit hovers over the physical world and tells the physical world what to do. The physical world is the slave of spirit. This is the secret of regeneration. The secret of regeneration is that your organs will do what your mind tells it to do. All you have to do is create the connection between the conscious mind and the organ. And you need a symbol to do it, a connection. In Taoist philosophy, if you have too much anger in your liver, they tell you the symbol is the sound shh. When you go shh, you cool it down. Right? Symbols are so significant. Now, here we have very significant personages. We have President Truman, decked out in full Masonic regalia. He was, as you can see on his apron, see, this is not a square at the bottom of his apron. He has another emblem. This gentleman was a president, and he was the Grand Master of all of the Grand Lodges in Missouri, in the state of Missouri. This is the Duke of Edinburgh in grand session in the lodge in full Masonic regalia. This is like the uber European in the UK. These are like uber European, royalty. Dukes and all that. Their spiritual principle, which is most pervasive, the one that is most significant, is in fact Freemasonry. And here we have Truman in a dedication accompanied by Freemasons dedicating a statue to George Washington. George Washington, of course, is also in American history a Freemason. Okay? Very significant that Freemasonry was utilized to spread the onus of Western civilization. Now, the Adam and Eve story is the Western model of human cosmology and is perceived to be real by countless people the world over. This story is a vestige of many ancient mythologies pertaining to biological manipulation of DNA and the Earth's magnetic field as it pertains to light's trajectory traversed towards Earth. Now, Adam and Eve, if you were to go and ask people, do you really believe in Adam and Eve? And people would be like, hell yeah. I had a beginning. We all came from somewhere, didn't we? In a sense, we are looking arduously for points of beginning to validate who we are. So in that, we are always willing supplicants for manipulation. Anyone can introduce a new myth to us and we'll just snatch it because we essentially we don't come equipped with it. They have to be essentially taught to us. The goddess in charge of language was Seshet. Seshet used to write. In many cultures, it is the women's job to impart the myth. Now, the ancient priesthood of old connected their own relative world to the physical world by way of symbolic psychology. They used words and numbers to demonstrate their dominion over material existence. Now, we see here, we have a depiction of the Kingu, or the serpent kings. You see these are serpents with crowns upon their head, and they're holding two serpents in the middle. Now, this is an ancient symbolic reference to the spiritual symbolism and the spiritual meaning of the only thing that you have that really acts as the vessel for who you are. The vessel for the soul, the crystal for the soul is, in fact, your DNA. Only 2% of your DNA is actually used for genetic information. The rest of your DNA acts almost like a skeletal structure for your flesh to uphold something. Your DNA is what a LCD screen would be to a plasma television. It's a medium by which to house the light, right, in order for the hologram to exist. Everyone has the same essentially helical structure externally of DNA, and in that, the fact that we all share the same crystalline lattice of the DNA allows us all to communicate. That connects us to the biosphere. Everything in existence, plants, animals, all have DNA. So once your DNA is attuned in such a way, you can now, or certain circumstances in the environment are created, all DNA on the planet is connected, all consciousness is connected.
Oh, gee, can we cut that light so I can just get the screen?
Okay. This one here? Better? Okay. Okay, cool. The ancients depicted the serpent as a symbol of change because the serpent is stellar or sunlight. In the Adam and Eve myth, the serpent uses a ruse of coercion. This ruse symbolizes stellar light's ability to promote genetic polymorphic mutations in DNA, causing it to both change as well as block various mutations depending on the electromagnetic environment of the body. Now, the sunlight that you receive is actually the manufacturer of your holographic body. If you want to know where you come from, if you want to seek your origin, all you must do is look to the source of light. The source of light in particular that we're speaking of is the sun. The sun is known every 11 years to send flares down that are so powerful that they can knock out pacemakers. People die. People have heart attacks. All of this in 11-year cycles from the power that the sun brings. Now, the sun shoots to our planet plasma as well as other particles which come within the magnetic field of the planet and begin to conform and become organic material. Okay? So the reason why your sustenance and the reason why you can live longer if you eat vegetables is because you're having a connection with solar imperative. Okay? So green, when in the Quran, when they speak about Al-Qidr or the green one, they're speaking about the ever-living life power or life force inherent within the electromagnetic field of things like chlorophyll, right? And things like alkaline foods. And this is why all things begin at a tree. They always show you that. They have Adam and Eve at a tree, right? Now, Adam and Eve ain't at Kentucky Fried Chicken for sustenance. They're at a tree. If you were meant to eat Kentucky Fried Chicken, your ass would have came down here with a bucket, right? But you don't have that. You understand? You have the substance in the tree of life to sustain essentially the light conduit in which there's a resonation of light. Okay? So now, if we look here, I attached a DNA strand to the center of this to also promote how the ancients knew that these serpents, or these are like some flying serpents mixed with like animals and all type of stuff to express the spiritual principle of the primal element, the primal aspect of matter. Matter is a beast of its own. We encompass who we are individually. We encompass spirit world and the physical world. We would be almost like the Minotaur would be in the Sagittarian, would be the beast up top and the physical being down below. So you must be trained in both realms. You must be trained in both realms in order to rise above one. Now, very significant. Everybody told us that how long does it take for light to get to us from the sun? 8 minutes, right? Everybody I know that. You ever hear that? That it takes the sunlight to get to you 8 minutes? Well, science has validated that the sun is 93 million miles away from us. Light travels at what?
186,000 miles.
186,000 miles per second. Now, from 93 million miles away, with light traveling at 186,000 miles per second, it takes light 8 minutes to get to you. Meaning the light that got to you is kind of old, right? So if that light is the news, then the lights from the far reaches of the galaxy that are coming from far other places or sources, they ain't even get here yet. So you don't even know what's going to happen. Right? Because that's the news. The light comes on the news. So now I found something very significant in the biblical scripture, and I'm going to share that with you pertaining to those 8 minutes of light. Right? Very significant. And then when I come out with my brothers, and this is going to be one of the last times, if not the last time I give a lecture. I chose to do it here. In the States, I'm only going to be doing classes and workshops. No more, it's going to be more hands-on, and we're going to go right into the book. You know what I'm saying? But I wanted to just leave some things for the people who really get into it. And the real science, if you're really into Kabbalah, for the brothers and sisters in the UK and everywhere, if you're really into the Kabbalah, the best book on Kabbalah is the Bible. All other books on Kabbalah are cookie cuts. They come out of essentially what it is. And the only best book that can ever be written on Kabbalah would be the one that you write from your findings. So now the hidden light of Freemasonry is the sun. And you, the initiate, are the temple of Solomon. For it is the sun which creates the geometric square, which is Solomon's temple, by way of solar flares and solar winds, referred to as the Kedem Ruach. In the text, referred to as the Kedem Ruach. But how does one harness this hidden light? This is a question of the age. Now, when we go to the text, very interesting. Let's go to the text. We are in the book of Kings. Chapter 1, we're in Kings 1, verse 1, chapter 1, verse 6, and it says, and it came to pass in the 480th year after the children of Israel were come out of the land of Egypt, in the 4th year of Solomon's reign over Israel, in the month of Ziph, which is the 2nd month, that he began to build the house for the Lord. Now, what is this house of the Lord that he's talking about? What is it? All of us got Bibles. I don't know nobody in here that don't got a Bible at home. Don't know nobody that got a Bible, right? That don't have one, right? I know they got Bibles out here in Deutsch and every other language, right? We got this book. We operate within this mythology, but we don't ever go look at to see what it really is. And this is why we can't never get free from the reins of what it intends to lock you down in. We signed on to a contract and don't even know the clauses or the particulars in the contract. This is what baffles me with people in general. We will wholeheartedly accept something as long as it got frosting and icing on it and it tastes good, or it appeals to the external sensory perception. But no one ever wants to see what is the internal dynamic. Okay? Why was it so significant for them to do that? Why was the amount of years between the building of King Solomon's temple and the Exodus, led by mythological Moses, so significant that the ancient scribes had to mention it? The secrets rest within the numbers. Always. Before you were anything, you were a number. I challenge anybody to refute that. Anybody, can't nobody refute that. It's a waste of time to even put that challenge out there. Before you were anything, you were a number. In fact, nothing else in the universe exists except for numbers. All we're seeing are morphogenic expressions of numeric potencies. Patterns upon patterns of numbers, interactions with various numbers. The external vestige of what this number entails is the number 1, and you see that in the atom, and then the atom chooses where to put itself to create more atoms, to create bigger crystallization. You know what I'm saying? To create harnesses and vehicles to encompass and create the space to house the volume of truth. This bottle is nothing without something in it, right? What is it without something in it? Piece of plastic, right? It's garbage. What do you do with it? You throw it away, don't you? So what are we doing with these bodies? This body that you have is a vessel that has within it the ability to house a volume of a particular consciousness. What are they building when they build a temple? And who is the artificer of the temple? The sun is building a temple to accommodate itself within the housing of your flesh. You are so disconnected with your son. You're not connected with your son. You are not connected with your son because you don't eat solar food. Consistently solar food. And you're not wet enough. Meaning you don't drink enough water. You don't drink enough water. And water is so very significant. 3/4 of the planet is water. Water is so very significant for the reception of light. Okay? The mythological Moses, his name means literally I'll show you that later. I'll show you that later so you can know. And I qualify when I say the mythological Moses because there are a lot of Moseses, right? There's a lot of Moseses.
Isaac Hayes was Moses.
Yeah, tell me about it. 480 is the Kabbalistic equivalent of the Hebrew word path, which means an opening. So now when our English speakers, when you hear someone say, clear a path for me, it has a Hebrew origin, which of course has an origin in Kim, which means opening. Numbers express function and sound is the vehicle of function. When we switch to Hebrew letters, we receive the word thop, which is a hand drum, a musical instrument, and as well a vehicle for sound. So now listen, let me say this again, because we're speaking about essentially a lot of concepts that people perhaps never heard of. And I always speak to the future. Some of the stuff that I say in the tapes, like the stuff that I said in tapes a long time ago, like my first tapes, did not really become relevant to people for a year and a half, sometimes later than that. You have to challenge yourself to say that everything that I know right now is a lie. It does not exist. It's not real. And then challenge yourself to begin to become a reality creationist based on your observation of what nature has given you as a guide. Right? So now, numbers express function. Numbers express function, and sound is the vehicle of function. Nothing physical can exist. Sound can exist without the physical world. And the physical world is a byproduct of sound. When you have an organ that is ailing, there are means and manners in which you can address the organ by speaking to it. Right? And resonating with it. When you're saying the disease is the evidence of lack. Right? Disease is the evidence of lack. What is lacking? The only thing that could lack is love, because that's the only thing that really exists. That's the most powerful force in the universe. In fact, if you do anything in the universe that's not an act of love, then what is it? It's an act of fear. Think about that. Everything you do, if you don't do it for the love, you're doing it for fear. Because love is the only constant thing in the universe. Walking to your room, going to use the bathroom, going to eat, all of that can be enshrouded and encompassed into love, right? But when you start contemplating on what I might slip and fall, something might happen, boy, they might kill somebody, things are just going to happen. Oh God, I don't want to go in there. I don't want to go outside. I ain't going outside. No. And then what happened? Right? You have magnetically created the circumstance for fear to root itself in your existence. And now all this stuff that you thought that you could never happen is happening. And even the poor babies are inheriting, the children are inheriting the fears of the parents. Babies don't even know where they're getting it from. They don't even know why they feel that way. And if you notice, certain cultures raise children in different ways. Some cultures, I showed in my last lecture, they put defanged cobras in the baby pens with the babies. The baby be like 1 year old. The babies be playing with cobras. They defanged so they don't kill a baby, right? But it's rooted out of the mind. Fear. It's not there. You have to use fear. You can't never get rid of it. You got to use fear. My brothers in the military, you already know. If you didn't go through the basic training, your ass would be scared to death out there. The basic training, they do what is called, it's mind control. It's programming. It comes from the Islamic paradigm, and the Chinese taught people how to regiment psychology by making them pay attention to details. So whenever you were in the barracks and the drill sergeant said, "Hey, I see stranded hair inside of this toilet. I want all y'all to get up and clean this shit up at 3:30 in the morning, right? What does this begin to do? This shit starts making your ass pay attention to the details. You start everything you like this. And what they've done is they have activated Yahweh. They have activated Yahweh, and the scripture tells you, don't ask me who God is. Don't ask the preacher. Go to the book. The book tell you Yahweh is a man of war. The book tell you that Yahweh, the secret of Yahweh is fear. Hello? That's why your ass ain't scared to put that work in. Because you have been amplified, trained in the manner in which to address the physical world. Your visual cortex, this is your yod. Yod, he, vow, he is seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting. When they all come together, it's called quintessence, and that's called the hologram. That's called what you perceive reality to be. This is why you build pyramids with 5 points. This is why in Western Africa, they pulled Yahweh out of Western Africa in Kushite theology using the 4 points and directions, and then created magic out of that. The only person that does magic is your 4 senses. That's it. That's why nobody have to believe in magic in order for magic to work on you. That's a lie. If anybody tell you that, that's bullshit. That I don't have to believe. I don't believe in magic, so it has no effect on me. That is so untrue. So untrue. Now, if sound is the vehicle of function, and this is why I deal with Kabbalah, because I challenged the text told me what it is. It says that the Hebrew word path, which equals 480, the same amount of years from, now I'm leaving stuff out because I'm building up my point, the same amount of years required for the building of the temple from the Exodus for a reason. Now the Exodus, where was they leaving from? What was the Exodus? Where they was leaving from?
Slavery.
They was leaving slavery. They was leaving slavery. But from where though?
Egypt.
From Egypt. But not, it don't say Egypt in the book. Who told you that?
Israel.
It don't say Israel in the book. Who told you that?
Kemet.
It don't say Kemet in the book.
Amoray.
Pharaoh.
It don't say Kamare. They use a mythological term to describe a place that historians have put in Egypt.
Land of Pharaoh.
It's Mutz. Mutz. That's the root. It's Mitzrayim. Now Mitzrayim, the root of Mutz, it means any place their mounds are. Mutz means mound. Any place there's mounds can be your Egypt. Hello? And they are pyramids on every place on the planet. The biggest one is where?
China.
China. Okay? Now, the 480 years is the numeric stellar trajectory equation equaling the number of seconds required for the sun's light to reach you. It expresses the numeric matter in which light manifests through the lenses of darkness. So now the 8 minutes, when we divide 8 minutes, right, into how many seconds is in a minute?
60.
Times 60 times 8, you get your 480. So the 480 years that they're talking about from the Exodus to the building of the first temple is describing light's trajectory from darkness. Hello? Light. Now listen, light comes from the darkness. Your sun ain't light like you think it is. That's an illusion. My brother's gonna clear all this shit up when I'm finished. He's gonna bring it all home. He's gonna bring it all home, right? That set the stage for us today. He's gonna bring it all home. Now, The 480 years is the numeric stellar trajectory equation equaling the number of seconds required for the sun's light to reach you. It expresses the numeric matter in which light manifests through the lens of darkness. Now, people say, yo, I need you to go back to that old Kabbalah like back in the day. Because I started drifting. I started talking about politics and shit. And then all the haters come out. Because the politics is where all the haters is chilling. And all they doing is talking about politics and all this bullshit. I already know who I am. I already know who the Caucasian is. I'm done with that shit. I'm going someplace else into the spiritual realm where we have to set up the stage for those people who are willing to actually die. In the Quran it says, long for death if ye are true. Long for death if ye are true. Let the bullet free you. Let the gunshot free you. All these people talking about life. Life is a fancy vanity. It's nothing. You heard? And you could tell those agents of spiritual repression who try to constantly keep your mind off the spiritual matters. You heard? Keep you fixed in material shit. I don't care what color no president is. The purple president could come out. I don't care. 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 You won't confuse me and have me all happy for nothing. You won't have me happy for some external circumstance that I know is futile. You understand? In the grand scheme of things. Feel me? So now, back to Kabbalah. This is where we going straight with it. If you ain't with it, not you folks here, but I'm speaking to our brothers and sisters in our extended family. 480 as well equals the entity used by mythological Moses to channel the Ruach HaKodim known as Lilith. Many of us who've been watching these DVDs been hearing about Lilith for quite some time. We hear about Lilith, but we vacillate her through our English mind. We think Lilith is an entity that is like, feminine connotation. We've seen images of her. And people are channeling images. And in channeling the image, you can challenge the import of the magical thing in which you intend to bring into existence. However, the real magician is a mathemagician. He goes to the very root of the entity, takes the number of the entity out and uses that. All kings in ancient times would build artifices and encode their names within the artifice by way of numeric principle. Okay? The King Sargon and Sumer did that. The ziggurats have his name in the numeric construct. Now, we are not able to access the force and power of the very sounds our ancient builders left for us to utilize in order to access the free and abundant energy present and surrounding us at all times. We activate this power solely with sound. Now,
It's crazy.
and Moses, now let's look at the text. Now, how the hell did Moses split the sea? Y'all been reading this Bible. Y'all been thinking, oh, Jesus and God and everything. But you never asked, well, how the hell, if this ain't but a few years ago, what the hell did he have then that I ain't got now? So why is he splitting seas and I got trouble making people understand me? Right? What's that about? Mythology. Let's look at the text. And then I've rendered a word for word just to show you, I didn't complete it, but just to show you some of the, how you are really supposed to read it. And Moses stretched out his hand. Now this is the poetic, anglicized version. Get out though. He had a staff, but it was in another verse. They never introduced the staff into this verse when he actually split the sea. Yahweh told him to go with the staff and split it, right? But when he actually split it, the staff is not in the text. And Moses stretched out his hand over the sea, and the Lord caused the sea to go back by the strong east wind all that night and made this sea dry land, and the waters were divided. Don't it sound beautiful? Right? Now, in its word for word, it would sound, and stretched Moshe the hand, because if it was his hand in language, they would have put it in the Hebrew, they would have had a kaf at the end of the word hand. Now, as a person who sits and deals with the Hebrew, they only a few hundred, less than 3,000 words in biblical Hebrew. We speak a language that has over 80,000 words, right? And if you speak English. Many of us who do speak English don't utilize not even a quarter of the 80,000, right? The mind of the ancients only had a very simple language to deal with. That's why they were so advanced. See? Simplicity is technology. Extra is the bullshit. Right? Your telephone, the stuff that's done in your little phone used to be what one computer could do that they made 50 years ago that fill up this whole building. Right? So the objective, you changing your tape? Okay. I gotta make sure that UK tape is tight, Jack. Can't wait to get to London. Right? How y'all feeling? Y'all all right? All right. Now I'm gonna tell you what Moses is. All you gotta do is read the story. All you gotta do is read the story. You wanna know who Moses is? Read the story. I'm gonna show you though. Now, it says, and Moses stretched Moshe, and this is his real name. His name is only actually 2 letters. The final letter, in a sense, gives power and force to his first 2 letters. His first letter in his name is water. Water, simply. The second letter in his name is tooth, but the connotation spiritually is fire or the sound shh. So it's the force within the water. You know, water has the ability, it conforms to the number 6. It in geometry, go ahead.
Moshe in German is a mosque.
Ah.
If you was to ask in German, if you was trying to get to the mosque for prayer, and you said, voice to Moshe.
Wow.
This is for the church for Muslims.
Wow.
What do you mean?
Mosque.
For Muslims,
Yeah.
church.
Masjid. That's deep. That's deep. Now that's deep, and it tells you that and we were doing the knowledge to the language here, and at first I was thinking that German might be hard, but it really is not when you speak Namin. So I speak Namin. You know what I'm saying? So from the hood. We did, yeah, you know what I mean? We just be making up shit as we go. Know what I'm saying? So it's not hard for us to be pliable to incorporate, you know what I mean, a means to speak. You understand? So especially when people come here who are speaking ancient languages, like someone who comes from an Arab country, they could snatch Deutsch like nothing. Because it's an older language. Greek, older language, you could snatch Deutsch. You know what I'm saying? It's nothing. It's nothing. So now, back to the Hebrew. And stretched Moshe the hand over the sea and received Yahweh. And Yahweh means sensory perception as the quintessence of holographic imagery. That's all Jehovah is. He is sensory perception as the quintessence of holographic pineal image making. Moses was instructed to part the sea within himself first, because that's the only place where the magic goes down. The sensory perception, right, is the foreground, and then the hand that we're speaking about, I'm going to show you something deep. Check this out. Hold on, let me finish the verse. The sea, and stretched Moshe the hand over the sea and received Jehovah, the sea, in wind, spirit, solar strong all night. And I had to stop it because it was so incoherent that the only way that you would really understand the text is if you were versed in symbolic nuances of language and Kabbalism. The English translation of the Bible is only 10% of what it's actually saying. Okay? It only is there to suit and boot the Western mind and keep it a slumber. Okay? Now, let me show you something
A
else.
quick question.
Go ahead, beloved.
When you said 10%, is that related to tithes as well? Like how
We'll get into that too, because the whole tithes thing is a super deep science. You can heal yourself if you pay your tithes too. That's another way that I have been able to circumvent so much bullshit in my life, is doing good things in secret. And that's what the tithes are. You tap into the 10% of the universe that you can access, as Dot was speaking about yesterday, are symbolically encoded within the tithes. See, when you give 10%, you're giving 10% back to the physical world, but who is giving? You're giving out of the 90% of unseenness. You walk around with 90 all day in your psyche. Everything that you hear is 10% of what is 90% of going on in the unmanifest realm. You understand? Now look, Ein Sof Or equals 9. 414 equals 9. Ein Sof Or is the origin of, that is the real God of the Bible. Ein Sof Or is Asar. He is the perfect black one. Right? And I use the word black because I don't have another word to describe essentially this color. Because we have an ongoing, a senseless debate that I do not want to continue participating in, because it's being co-opted by provocateurism and the agent shit with the word black. Okay, so a proper word for it in Hebrew could be shakor or kedem or kidar. Those are good proper words for the color of blackness. Now the supreme, and that's what is unmanifest, that is dark matter. That dark matter is the 90%. Only 10% of it can make itself manifest, and it does so in a beam of light that we're going to talk about later, that has something to do with the solar boat that Ra sits on. Now the supreme magical instruction for finding the point of orientation required to allow Yahweh to split the waters asunder reside within the numeric potencies of text. Now in the text it said that he was instructed to use the hand, right? And the word for the hand is yadu, right? Yadu really is yod. It would be yod, vav, daleth is hand, but in the text they spell it yod, daleth, vav, and it equals 20, right? And then the way that it was split, this is how the minds of the ancients were not in the same, constructed in the same manner in which we construct our thinking and our thought process. When they want to say that something is strong, right? They would put, if they want to say that I am a strong man, they would say I'm strong of hand in the language. That's how it would be. Right? This is how their mind worked. They would put things in a specific order in order for psychology to develop what you're saying. You know what I'm saying? So now, the sea and the hand becomes synonymous in the text because the sea does not split asunder until he actually activates it with his hand. In this verse, where it goes asunder, it's in 14, 19 to 21 in Exodus. It don't split asunder until he puts his hand over it. So I went to the text, I said, let me add these are the definitive markers you'll find in language. Now, the way we get the word the is really a vestige of the Hebrew ath, word ath. Ath means the beginning and end. In the Zohar, they said the aleph and the tau has the same connotation as alpha and omega in the Greek. When someone says something comes from the alpha and the omega, what is it? It comes from the what? The beginning and the what? And the end. Okay, how we looking for time?
You good?
Okay. Now, the C, meaning the. So it says the hand and the C. Now, the C equals 55. So I did some Kabbalah. I said, let me add them and see what comes. 20 is a Kabbalistic numeric symbol of deity whose name is Yeya. Right? Now, 55 is a Kabbalistic numeric symbol of God's female consort, whose title is Kala, which means bride and is a Kabbalistic alternate term for Malkuth, the physical world. So when Moshe put his hand over the sea, what was occurring was there was a marriage which was ensuing. Now, in alchemy, it speaks constantly of the divine marriage. The symbol of marriage is very significant for psychology. This is why when you go to, that's why the wedding in every culture is a major ritual. Major ritual. Italian wedding, African wedding, African, whatever, different parts of the world, wherever you at, German wedding, they always have intricate aspects of culture. In some cultures, before the honeymoon, the woman has to sit on her lap with a baby boy. Right? First I said, why? They reenacting the Heru myth with the mother and child. But more importantly, the boy child has an electromagnetic field that makes the woman's ovaries ovulate, setting up the stage for the honeymoon. Holla, right? Now, 20 plus 55 equals 75, which is Layla, meaning night. However, when we jumble these letters, we receive Hallel, meaning Lucifer. Now, Layla, those of you who are Muslim, if you ever fasted and during the month of Ramadan, you remember the Laylatul Qadr was the night of power. Check it out, True. The Laylatul Qadr is very significant in Islam during the month of Ramadan because that is the night when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala answers all prayers. He only do it at night. During the odd number of the last 10 days of Ramadan. Okay? So now, and I reference Islam for a reason. I always reference Islam because Islam is a balancing point. It's the checks and balance for other religious systems. And it's the perfection of the other ones. Now, Freemasonry is presently Western man's desire to follow Eastern, Asiatic, or Kushite stellar theology. The myth of King Solomon's temple merges fully in the mythology of Freemasonry. A distinct and fully functioning mythology is what is required to activate the caverns of the Western mind. The Western mind's need for spiritual symbolism to guide it through the dark world of our present aeon. So Freemasonry, in a sense, is what is the basic fundamental premise used by Western man to guide himself through the world. Western man cannot sit down and meditate and still whoop your ass, take your money in taxes, and be the IRS agent and do all of that. He has to use a different system of spirituality. He cannot use Eastern philosophy. Eastern philosophy is not aggressive enough for him to have a commercial venue. You know what I'm saying? A commercial venue that is aggressive. You know what I mean? And Freemasonry affords the Western man the ability to sit and act like a Moor. He can sit and don the fez. He can sit and wear the clothing of essentially the indigenous people of the planet and operate within their venue spiritually in their spiritual system of commerce as well as the physical world of commerce. Okay? So now, Now, Jesus Christ, how we fix that? Now, the things is under there, but let me show you what this is. Now, do you remember when I spoke to you? Excuse me, my bad, y'all. I got the letters under here. No need to apologize because I can explain it. Now, the 72 names of God are what you see here, right? The 72 names of God are the actual tools used by the mythological Moses to split or recede the Red Sea. This is the means and the manner by which to open up the caverns in the sky or the portals in the sky and channel down cosmic imperative. Now, where do we get these 72 names from? The 72 names come from a number of 216 letters that are in 3 verses. The 3 verses that I'm talking about is Exodus 14, 19 through 21. In Exodus 14, 19 through 21, it speaks about the whole setting the stage for Moses to split the Red Sea. He doesn't split it until he gets to chapter 21. Now, what they did was they took 72 letters from one verse. Each of the 3 verses have 72 letters in them. They put 72 letters in this way, then put 72 this way, 72 this way, and then 72 this way. Now they call that the way of the ox. Oxes plow in this way. On land, they plow this way, then they go this way, and then they go this way, right? Now they read the 3 verses going down and render, take 3 letters out of each of them and render 72 names. Now each of the 72 names are angelic names. Some end with the name El and some end with the name Yah to describe the masculine and female potential of the angelic forces, right? Now, at least they afford us female angels in this Kabbalah. There's no female angels in Christianity, unfortunately. I don't know what the angels are doing up there by themselves, right? So now, you have at your access the ability to bring down cosmic and light code, what you call it, imperatives housed in these sounds. And the ancients put this there for a specific reason. Now, this is what Moses really means. Moses means water vehicle breath. His name means water vehicle breath. The mythological Moses is a code word detailing ancient methods used by priests for channeling stellar imperatives. Stellar gnosis is given to the son from the mother through breastfeeding and storytelling. You get your high science in the process of breastfeeding. If you were not fed, you better get you some titty now. because that's where the truth is at. That's if you know somebody that you trust that's weaning, get you a cup. Real talk, for the simple fact that the Milky Way comes down through the naf, the nipple, the nap. The word P, the letter P is synonymous with the F sound, right? So when you, now, I don't want to blow it up. I'm going to get to another point. Let's go here now. Look, storytelling. Now go and call, now this is from Exodus 2:7. Now this is when they pulled little baby Moses out the manger, right? Very significant that this is the very crucial element of the story. Without this part of the story, the whole shit don't make no sense. Okay? Go and call a woman from you, a nurse of the Hebrew women, that she may nurse the child. Now here we have a Anunnaki reptilian mother feeding her child. The Hebrew word for breastfeeding is nuk. In the term Anunnaki is the feeding. Now, what is a baby doing when a baby feeds and sucks on the titty? What happens? The pons region, which surrounds the pineal gland, is stimulated. Sucking breast milk stimulates pineal function. If the pineal is activated, stellar imperative is embossed into the child. The child is now a priest. Hello? You remember Mork and Mindy? With Nanu? Who were the adults? The children were the adults in Mork and Mindy. Mork's pops was like 5 years old. You know what I'm saying? You become you born an adult and you become a child. All right? Now, the Hebrew word for breastfeeding is nuk. The root of nuk is nu, which shares the same root as noon, which means fish, as in nomo from the cosmology of the Dogon. The Hebrew letter noon equals the number 50, and 50 are the number of ancestors who came on the Shem to seed the daughters of men with the seeds of God. So the noon, which means the fish, the sperm, is stellar. When they talk about the Anunnaki, remember? When he said, this is what made Zechariah Sitchin write all them books. He could not find a meaning of the word Nephilim. In the English, Nephilim kept saying what? Giants. Giants. Like the New York Giants? Giants? What the fuck are you talking about? The Giants. Giants? He said, no, I'm going to challenge the text. And went in and challenged the text and was beginning to find...
I thought that was the Gibor.
The Gibor. What do you mean?
The Giants. I thought that was the Gibor. And I thought the Nephilim was the half-half.
See, but when you go into the poetic anglicized version of the book, they always use the English variant giant to supplement Nephilim, because they don't know what Nephilim is. The M at the end of it means it's plural. The Nephal is the nipple, brother. The nipple. It's what comes out of her nipple is the Nephilim into the child. The child becomes the housing of God. The black man is God. Through the breast milk does he seed all seeds with divine potential, brother. He uplinks the DNA through that. I'm telling you, it is very crucial to have breastfed children. If you have a child now and the woman is not breastfeeding, you are not creating a healthy, sentient, priestly being. You gotta have that. You know what I'm saying? If you don't have it now, you're gonna have troubles in the child's life, and they're gonna have to supplement it later on in some form or fashion. And a lot of the maladies that we are presently seeing today, many of the people who are, I'm 33 years old, 34 years old, and the problems that I see that are prevalent in the people my age and before and after me, they are lacking spiritual development. People are grossly, like on a whole nother level, insecure. And whenever you're insecure on this level, this is evidence of spiritual underdevelopment and emotional underdevelopment. And you get developed first on an emotional level with mommy. That's why it was so significant that we opened up yesterday with the brother's mother. She's the one actually who set the stage.
Yes.
Okay? She's the one that set the stage. Okay, now here's a depiction of the Shem HaMephorish. This is from, was he a German? I believe Athanasius Kircher was a German. He's one of the first Europeans to dedicate in writing an extensive work on Kabbalah. And I think this is a woodcut from one of his books. If I'm mistaken, please tell me. Now, the pillars on the porch of King Solomon's temple equal DNA. And DNA equals the pillars, the external pillars on the Etz HaKayim, on the tree of life. Right? Now, the pillars on the porch. Now, the porch on King Solomon's temple is called the Ulam. The Ulam, the word itself, equals the number 77, right? 77 is very significant when we get into Kabbalistic sorcery because it was used for 9/11. They oriented the whole event off of the number 66 and 11. Combined, they were 77. 66, they made the enemy of 9/11, which is really their ally, Allah.
And the UK.
Allah, what you said?
87 as well, down on the 7th for the 7th.
The UK bombers was done on 7th.
Now, let me show you something.
7th for the 7th.
Let me show you something.
7th and 7th?
Yeah.
Take this back to the UK.
7th.
Look, 9/11, take away the number 77 equals the Hebrew word Megdal, which means tower. And tower equals 834. Now, the sorcerers who did 9/11 were Kabbalists. They sat there and fixed all that shit in numbers before they pulled that stunt. Okay? 834, take away 77 equals 757, which is the 757, which is the type of plane they used. Okay? Okay? Now, two towers is the word Megdalim. I told y'all that yum at the end of any word pluralizes it. Megdalim, okay, equals, has two equal equivalencies. Where the fuck is this at? Okay, Migdalim, 127. 477, take away. Okay, Migdalim, 527. I gotta do this shit. I'll show y'all later. This shit goes into some whole other shit. These are some old notes. The word 477 equals the word terror. Hello? They go your 77 again. And then 477 take away 911 equals 434, which means Daleth or the door. 9/11 was a portal opening event. Terror plus door equals beginning. Fear's entry begins or starts a given context of existence. The door lies in the center. The middle is the way. Fear is the medium by which one may enter into the sacred pillar of genetic DNA configuration. The way to get into anybody's DNA or to get into their imprint is by way of fear. This is why they can all make us relatives on a DNA level with an event that happens external to us all that utilizes fear. This is why we all have the same page. Time?
Raise the threat level.
Raise the threat level. That's right. That's right. Altering the configuration and thus beginning a new template structure or lattice to accommodate the infrastructural mandates of the adversary's agenda. Now, the 3, 5, and 7 steps of Freemasonry conceal the numeric manner in which to spin intent interdimensionally throughout the universe using light and sound as its primary medium. This is why they are associated with the winding staircase in the second degree. The 3, 5 are actually, the 3 and the 5 are actually the musical 3.5 used to measure scale and the progression towards achieving a full measure of musical sound. I may have said it a little off, but the 3, 5, and 7, the 3 and the 5 deal with sound and how sound is the activating vehicle for interdimensional travel. To spin it, when we get into our UFOs, when we start getting the UFOs popping, y'all, the Germans, y'all supposed to be building them. This is where the first one was at. So where's your shit at? Where your UFO parked at?
Can't tell you.
Okay. When you get one, I guarantee that the best means of travel when you get into it is going to be sound. Sound is going to be the medium of, and they even have in new sound weaponry. They're using weapons. They're using weaponry that's rooted in sound because sound can disturb any medium. They can melt your ass with sound. Scientists have even used high-pitched sound to freeze liquid helium. Now, how are you going to use sound to freeze something? They also have a science called sonoambulance, where they can use sound to make light, brother. Why you think they say in the beginning? Why you say God said in the beginning, let there be what? Light. Islamically, what do they say? Kun fayakun. Be and it what? And it is. Right. But with Waco, with Koresh and them, they got him with, they were using rock and roll music to confuse them inside of the actual, the compound. They were playing it for days. So the new attack is gonna be sound and visuals.
They got them for crowd control now. In the inner cities, they're using this sound weapon. They no longer have horses and billy clubs and all that. They got the sound. They hit you with the sound weapons and it's clearing crowds out.
Yeah, it's so powerful it can make people throw up. It can make you keel over. Like
that's what they're using to get like the terrorists and stuff now, because they're going to like non-lethal weapons. So they actually have it now, so they can.
But let me tell you something. I'd rather get shot than shot with some sound, because the sound can totally reconfigure your DNA. It can emboss within your very soul a command. You don't know what frequency, what words, what are they saying to you? They could be telling you all kind of stuff. And you remember when they always had the public service announcements that in the case of emergency, when you hear the sound, and all that shit, they've been programming us for years with sounds, man. And in the States, when you hear the whoop, 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 all of a sudden niggas just stop. What the fuck? You ain't doing nothing. You just went outside to go to the store. You hear the whoop whoop. Then they put it with the colors, with the red and the blue, and you feel like you did some shit. You be like this. You start walking straight up. You like this. You know what I'm saying?
Start checking your
sound. Exactly. You start. Yeah. You be like this. I'm dirty. I'm good. Yeah. Now, are actually associated with the measure, scale, and progress to achieving the sound. The half is, of course, 5, as half of a whole is 50% of it. The number 5 represents the middle chamber spoken of in 1 Kings 6:8. For my Masonic brothers, you take the notes. Now, length, depth, and width are the 3 dimensions required to find the volume of a rectangular solid. The solid body is a holographic projection of King David's pineal gland. Solomon, and the numeric manner in which to find the volume of the cube is his name, Sholema, which equals 375. See, Solomon is a variant of the 3, 5, and 7 steps of natural progression towards manufacturing a physical thing by way of the descent of cosmic influx. So everything that you do, you spin into existence. Like if you had a magical wand and we was teaching people, you see on Harry Potter, you just can't stick the wand out, you gotta spin it, right? When you make the salat and you in the, what is that, Jalsa? I believe in Jalsa, you are instructed to say the Tashahhud. You have to take your finger and spin it like this. You're spinning your intent. You're bringing things into being. This is a part of Islamic prayer. You have to put your hand on your knee, your right finger, and spin it like this. See? Everything got to spin. Which equals 375 in this variation of the 3, 5, and 7 steps. And King Solomon went, this is very important. This is very important. And King Solomon went and fetched Hiram out of Tyre. He was a widowed son of the tribe of Naphtali. There go that word again, Naph. What I told you Naph mean, nipple. Now when you put Naphtali, right? The Thali in Hebrew is the pole star. The pole star is the star that orients everybody. When Hiram, who is a man versed in what? A widowed son of the tribe of Naphtali, and his father a man of Tyre, a worker in brass. And he was filled with wisdom, understanding, and cunning to work in brass. The brass that they're talking about, here's this from my man KB Unk, man. Shout out to KB Unk, man, in Atlanta. This is a fishy. This joint got the crystal and all that. Now, the brass that they're talking about ain't nothing but your DNA. It's your crystal. Brass or copper, brothers and sisters, is a significant additive to your DNA. Copper is so very significant for healing. It acts as an analgesic. You can actually take copper and rub it on bruises and they'll heal. Okay? Copper also responds to your electromagnetic field in your thought process. If you're dealing with some awful shit, your brass metallic thing will get very tarnished fast. The way to clean it, you're going to need acid that you can get out of ketchup and lemons to clean it off, to get the look again. Okay, so why when you enter into the Temple of Solomon is there always the Temple of Solomon, this here, why must you first, in order to enter it, you must first what? Walk in between its what? Its pillars on the porch. Boaz and what? Yakin. Both equaling the number 79. Hello? 79, which is an extension of 77. 79 only means in 77. In strength. See, the word Boaz means in strength. Az is also synonymous with the goat. The goat is what? The goat is what? Sacrificial animal. Deals with Aries. Deals with setting something off. It deals with strength. A billy goat kicks is rough, right? Don't care. And when I got my 3rd degree, they kept trying to scare people. I ain't gonna go into that. But that goat is everywhere. That goat is everywhere. It's primal. He was filled, let's go back to the text. It says he was filled with wisdom, understanding, and knowledge. Now, for years, everybody been reading the text, but ain't been going to Kabbalah to see what the hell the wisdom, understanding, and knowledge that Yahweh, that Hiram was filled with. The wisdom, understanding, and knowledge ain't nothing but these Sephiroth right here. Can you see all this dot?
Yep.
Is Hokmah. He was filled with wisdom, understanding, Binah, and Dath. For those of you who are trying to figure out what Dath is, Dath ain't nothing but the portal. It's the portal through which, you see this Keter? You see this swirl? Remember in the beginning, the first William Blake picture, the Ancient of Days? The Ancient of Days is another representation of this swirl. Now this swirl creates your compass in your compass and square motif. You see? At the top of the compass, you always see the screw there so you can move it around, right? But that compass represents Keter. Keter, the word Keter means to circle. What do you use a compass for?
Make circles.
To make a circle, right? Kabbalistic Freemasonry, right? Now here's the Gebor you were speaking of. You remember you said the word Gebor? Now Gebor symbolizes the 5th Sephiroth and it equals the number. This is a side note. It equals the number 216, which is the same equivalent for fear. Okay? Now, Kesed is the opposite of Gibor. That's how you defeat Gibor. When someone comes at you with it, somebody comes at you like this, what you want, son? You want to get it in? You use Kesed. You use mercy. Mercy is far more powerful. That's why it comes before rigor on the tree of life. See? The planet is Jupiter. You need Jupiter to the abundance of Jupiter to subject Mars. You heard?
There you go.
You know? Now, here we go. Very interesting. Who's this?
Heath Ledger.
Heath Ledger. Heath Ledger has what around his neck? A noose. That is the, of course, you know what noose mean to us. Mississippi, right? You niggas start thinking about Alabama, Georgia, right? The peach trees. The noose is a Masonic symbolism. In Masonry, it's called what? It's called the cable toe. Right? Now, very interesting. He has some symbols on his head. I want y'all to see this. Come up here. Y'all might not be able to see it from back there. I want y'all to come up here, get close and see this. He's got some very interesting symbols on his head. Right here appears to be a 3. This appears to be a triangle of sorts. And is this a Greek letter? It's an F. A phi. Phi or pi. Phi. Right? Now, this is between takes in the new Heath Ledger movie that came after Batman. Although he died, check out. It's the for the Adventures of Professor Parsippus or something like that. Something to that effect. You can, with the computer, you ain't got to ask nobody no questions no more. You can go find out the name of it. But this is between takes, and this is a picture of him. They're about to film him in a ritual murder. Now, in the UK, there was, and I'll get back to you on this, there was a historically murder that was never solved of a Mason, right? Killed by Masons, and he was killed in accordance to Masonic ritual. And whenever you're killed in accordance to Masonic ritual in the States, the police are instructed never to pursue the case. They are not to pursue your killers. Okay? If you get split asunder and your tongue snatched out and you by the sea or water, whenever they kill that ass by water, and in this movie he's going to be hanging off of a bridge right over water. You understand? Now, how did they continue to make the movie with Heath Ledger? Y'all can sit down now. Y'all niggas all on me now. Right? Right? How can they continue to make the movie if he dead? This is how they did it. They used 3 actors. Each time Heath Ledger walks through a magic mirror, one of these 3 actors come out on the other side. Hello? These 3 are very significant. Not the 3 actors, but the number itself is very, very, very significant. That 3 symbolizes what in my cosmology are these 3 Sephiroth, which are Sirius A, B, and C. I say Keter, Chokmah, Binah are Sirius A, B, and C. The occultists, Dion Fortune and them people's been trying to say, the Society for Inner Light have been saying that Thoth encompasses Sirius itself. That I do not agree with. Thoth is dark matter. Thoth is the lens by which these 3 realize themselves in the holographic universe below in the 6th Sephiroth called the realm of Yetzirah, or the Sephiroth Habenim, which are the builders of the holographic world. Okay, so now, ritually, the ritual sacrifice of Heath Ledger, because he was murdered, He was murdered, and the operatives and handlers in that murder was one of the twins, the Mary Kate Olsen twin. She's the one that gave him that bum ass medication, that bum ass Xanax, whatever that shit was that killed him, right? Yeah. Now, if you come to my house and you find me dead, Curtis,
Word.
and you call True Master and say, yo, True, Rashid in here dead, come over. And he come over, and y'all be like, oh shit, he is dead, right? Yeah. Call Doc. Doc come over, yo, this nigga dead, son. And then y'all call the police, who you think going to jail? Y'all niggas going to jail, right? Right. Now, how do Heath Ledger, he laid out, the masseuse get there, she don't know what to do. She said, let me call Mary Kate Olsen. Let me call her. So she called Mary Kate. Mary Kate said, oh, he just laying there? Don't call the hospital. Call my private security team. They'll come down. And her private security team was the cleanup crew that made sure that the crime scene was effectively placed in order. That was an insurance scam for Hollywood to recoup off of the recession. Simple. You heard? And to transdimensionally put one of their rising and shining suns. He played everything under the sun, but he played also one of the people that took Puff Daddy out of cell number 13 and Monsters Ball to his death. You understand? Besides him playing a fag, besides him playing a clown, besides all of that, look where they finna put him now that he's dead. You heard? And these auspicious symbols upon his head. Now, I put this as an X-ray photo of a nebula. This is the Crab Nebula, but the X-ray photo. If you were to see the actual photo, it looks nothing like this. There is activity going on. This is what the equivalent of Thoth would be. It is a portal, cosmic one. See it? You see, it seems like it's a point of light with a circle around it and then a gas shooting out of it. This is particles of who we are, what we are composed of.
Where's that at, bro?
That's the Crab Nebula, X-ray photo of it, right? Now, Binah is the builder. Now, this is how the lightning bolt goes. Ein Sof Or sends intelligence to Keter. Keter goes to Hokmah. Hokmah goes to Binah. And then Binah sends her son, her children, her Anunnaki, her Nun, right? Through the galactic lensing of Thoth, which is extremely painful. That's why birthing is so painful. Birthing is painful, and so is what? Dying sometime, ain't it? Because when you die, you go back the opposite way. See? They discourage Kabbalists to get too far entrenched into the three supernals because they're speaking to the Eurocentric mind, because if they get too deep into this, they can go beyond, they can go into a dark place that they cannot come back from. You ever heard people going crazy from getting too spiritual? That's what can happen. Okay? All of Dr. York, people from that era, if you wasn't in tune with your shit, my man will spook your ass. He had you bugging. Them Africans in Senegal will spook you too. If you have an English language, it's so easy for you to get mind control because our language is rooted in mind control. It's rooted, it has so many limitations and its foundation is fear.
Side note, when you was talking about the Kabbalah and 9/11, in some schools of thought, the number 10 will represent God or the completion of everything.
That's why the word Dios or Diaz is 10.
So by them going 9/11 was their ritualistic way to bypass God.
There you go.
Numerically.
Or to actually use God as the very benefactor of what they intend to bring into existence.
Exactly.
In the Sefer Yetzirah, it says that there are 10 Sephiroth, not 9, 10 Sephiroth, not 11. Mm-hmm. They are, and this is a book written by the Moors. We gave them the goddamn science for that event. And Crowley crystallized it and made 11 the number of magic. He's the one that did the ritual. Now, here we have the Commission form of bringing down the Anunnaki. We have the Sumerian form of bringing down the Anunnaki, and we have the Christian form, the breastfeeding. And Kabbalah was said to be discovered in Provence, France. Well, I have no problem with you saying that, as long as you recognize that Provence, France was populated by the world's indigenous people of color. Simply because in Provence they had over 100 black Madonnas in secret, distinct locations. They were worshiping who essentially we are for aeons. Okay? And that's it. And I've come to the completion of the slide presentation.
We got time for a few questions.
A few questions.
Ask general questions. Don't matter.
You wanna know where I got this t-shirt? 125th Street.
125th Street?
That's right. My man Jack, Soul Brothers Boutique. You wanna know how to get any of this stuff? KB Unkman, holla at us. 718-506-4518. You can call us in the States. It's 718-506-4518. Or you go online, aarashid.com. We get you in contact with everybody. Shout out to the blue pill, the black pill, and the red pill. Shout out to Sonetta. That's my man. Azariah. Shout out to all the brothers in Jersey who are selling the DVDs. Brothers in Philly. My man Ali. My man Hakeem and them at Black and Nobel. Everywhere. My man Josh Sun on Franklin. Jabril on Fulton and Nostrand. We doing it. Go ahead, mommy. I'm sorry.
Oh no, I just wanted to I'll make a comment about what you were stating before about the children that are not breastfed.
Yes, ma'am.
With the mothers that are not breastfeeding their children. There's already a big problem. There's a big problem right now because the children are coming in undernourished and they're coming in very small. There's got a lot of problems now with all these babies that are coming in this world that are just small.
Well,
I've seen a population of babies that are just small.
I just had a baby on September 22nd. My wife gave birth, and September? My baby boy? Yeah, September 22nd. Right? Now, I wanted her to be a Scorpio. That's why I'm trying to push it to October. But September 22nd, I had my baby, and she was 7 pounds 4 ounces. We had her at home. Nothing, none of that bullshit. My girl squatted 4 pushes, the baby was out. When the water broke, she said, let's go shopping. She didn't lay out waiting. She went to go get some vegetables. We cooked. She said, I'm going in the room to have this baby. Come on. Called the midwife. Boom, bam. Baby was 7 pounds 4 ounces. In 30 days, the baby is over 10 pounds with nothing but breast milk.
Right.
Nothing but breast milk. She makes her breast milk rich by eating nuts. She eats cashews and almonds, and she eats a lot of vegetables.
And the other thing, even as far as trying to supplement these babies, what I found works very, 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 very well is colostrum.
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 Right.
That's the colostrum is the big baby of the form of the milk.
That's right.
Of the mother.
And the colostrum is what helped my baby push out the first. What's the first doo-doo they push? Yeah. That's what helped her. And the colostrum, I thought the colostrum was the milk, and it's not.
Wow. That's the form for the milk.
That's right.
So if they can help to supplement that, they have it. And I've watched these children who have been supplemented by that. Like for instance, the one my grandson that was the 3 pounds.
Right.
That had the heart problem and also the kidney that was so small. But I nursed him now. You should see he's like a linebacker.
Right.
You know what I mean? The shoulders, everything came out. He's very, very, very strong.
Right.
Right now, you just see that through his bones, and not even. It's a lot different. And I did that for. Like I said, he's only 20 months old right now. So he's doing very, very, very well. But that colostrum every day.
That's right.
Every day to nurture him for what he couldn't get. It's like almost impossible to beat unless you have that type of nurturing. You really are going to lose.
That's our power, Mom, over the future is the connection between the mother and the child. If there is babies that's born cesarean section, the woman does not secrete a crucial hormone which connects her emotionally to the child. See? The reason why so many cesareans is because they got the women laying on their backs. That goes totally against
Gravity.
it goes against the laws of gravity. When you go to Kemet, the hieroglyphic for a woman giving birth is her squatting by herself. She's not accompanied by nobody. And another trick for women to make the milk come down is for the women to sit in the Islamic position of jalsa. She must bend her knees. Her knees have to be bent, and for some reason, it brings the milk down like a flood. You understand? And that is the mercy of Allah. When I say Allah, I'm speaking about the all. That is the mercy of Allah showing us the benefits of humility and how the woman must be humble in order for our nation to succeed. Because if she lacks humility and deals with the haughtiness of what men essentially, this is what throws off the whole planet. This is why don't nobody know where they are in a gender. This is a gender blind society. Nobody cares about gender no more. Nobody wants to do masculine. Men don't want to do masculine things no more. Women don't want to do women things no more. Women want to box. Men want to do ballet. You know what I'm saying? And we are complaining, about essentially the nature in which the world is unfolding, and it's all because we are going against the actual evidence as it is given. It's one and then two.
And it's absolutely right. I'm really living proof of that because, well, like I stated yesterday, all those illnesses, all those weaknesses, I like to say, when I came in this world physically, were against me. As soon as I start having those babies on a regular, everything was fine.
That's because you see, you were joking. You was like, but God, if you need another Moses, another Jesus, but look at that's what you were doing. You were making manifest God in the physical realm in order for him to participate in this world. You understand? And that is something that is so very female and crucial. Another thing is, when the women had the babies, they ain't supposed to be shooting back to work. Women that have babies, that have children, have to be home with the child. If she's not home with the child is going to develop emotional problems and will be insecure. And insecure niggas, that's why we got so many niggas that's afraid. They insecure, they deal with lack, they do bitch ass shit. They don't confront issues. They be snitching. They bitches. Know what I'm saying? And I don't speak to bitches. Bitch ass niggas in particular. Know what I'm saying? So this is why it is. Your ass wasn't nurtured. And that's why you got so many men that hate women. They weren't nurtured. You got so many homosexuals. They weren't nurtured in the way of loving women. The connection is so deep on that level.
And I have to agree with you again on that because, again, I stated, when I had my babies, I didn't even go anywhere without them.
Right. Whenever your woman got to get up and go to work, she's going to clean somebody else's house. I don't care if she's a secretary. I don't care if she's the CEO. She's cleaning somebody else's house. You, brothers, have to begin to give your whiz, and this is the final word that I'm going to say. You have to begin to give your whiz something else to do besides going to work for another man. Because she's taking away resources out of your house to give somebody else, right? While your child is ailing. And until you can address that, you really ain't got shit to talk about. Make it so your whiz can stay home and don't got to get up every morning to go work for the white man. And then make it so she don't even feel like she's being less of a person if she don't work. Because my whiz, and I talk my walk, my whiz is in the crib. And I told her she never got to go back to work. You work for me. And you just sit there and operate the little thing, because I'm Riri. I can't, when it was time to get the passport, I ain't know what to do, nothing. So thanks to her, my queen, gave me a beautiful baby. I appreciate it. Thank you very much for having me. Thank you.
Give it up.
I don't
What you
eat.
rocking? Some Frank and
Not
Merc?
the regular, the true love joint. No.
Everything true.
Yeah.
We good?
Good.
All right. Well, y'all seen A. Rashid just tear it up. He really sliced me up. You know, I was in the back like, I wasn't expecting it. See, when you have your mind fixed in a certain kind of frequency, that's how you know that things are syncing up and it's higher than even your own perception. It's mind altering. It alters your perception and you have no choice but to bend your will and actually push the envelope. So now that you got this, now that the standard is raised, with the question you pose to yourself, what do I need to do in order to raise the standard higher? So I was in the back bugging like, wow, all right, I need to get it together. You know, I figured it out. I got it. And so it just goes to show what all is in you. He talked about the 90% of that dark matter, which you don't see, that 10% allows you to see. So you bring things from the unseen to the seen. You know, my background, Nation of Gods and Earths, we make the unseen seen and the unheard seen and heard everywhere. You see what I'm saying? They say God is seen and heard everywhere. So that's how we bring that out of that dark matter consciousness, that 90% into being as a gift for the people to even participate in that, the other 10% that you see. The God told me when I was going through my lessons, he said, you could fill a thimble with what you know, but you could fill 1,000 universes with that which you don't know. So you could take that into perspective and really elevate, you know, within self and along the lines with all of this information that's coming, because it's powerful. Everybody is like, wow. You see what I'm saying? Now the next brother is definitely really going to bring it home. And the first time I seen this brother, it was on the Indigo Children. If y'all don't got it out there in TV land, find somebody, jack them, whatever, and get the Indigo Children, because it was definitely mind-boggling. You see what I'm saying? And everybody know True Master from the hip-hop world, you know, the producer from Wu-Tang. I've been bugging lately, still been bugging, just the fact that this all even took place, and the fact that we got a person who not industry. You see what I'm saying? You got the people with the high facade and everything, and this brother is one of the most humble brothers I ever met in my life. Even had to bring my humility down. You know what I'm saying? Like I had to turn down the ruckus button. I had to turn it down. You see what I'm saying? Because the energy, and if you ever met True, you see what I'm saying? You know that that's a warm brother, and he gonna want to reciprocate that same kind of warm peace energy, or else you can't even be around him. You see what I'm saying? And to know, after I seen the Indigo Child, I was like, yo, I got to get this brother over here. And it just so happened that I talked to Rashid on the phone, and he was like, I was like, yo, you know True Master? Yeah, that's my brother. As soon as you said this whole idea, this is who I had in mind. So we had it in mind in synchronicity. So irregardless to whom or what, when things have to get accomplished, things get accomplished in the mental, and then the physical is the last thing to catch up.
Okay.
So without further ado, we're going to bring up this brother True Master.
Peace, Lord. Peace, Lord. It's a pleasure, man. It's an honor to be here, man. It's an honor to meet all my brothers, you know what I mean, on this side. My brother Travel over there, I met the other night. You know what I mean? Your old Earth. Definitely a queen, you know what I mean? And it's like everything that's been lining up, the synchronicity of everything that we've been dealing with is basically allowing us to enjoy a heightened level of perception, what we would call a hyperdimensional level of perception. And this is why we should always pay attention to synchronicities and things that align themselves up, because they give us an opportunity to walk through time barriers, to walk through worlds, so to speak, and give us a whole new insight on something. It's a tremendous amount of synchronicity around all of us right here in Bavaria. Now, in doing my research, I like to give honor to some of our ancestors like Noble Drew Ali, because without those keys, we wouldn't be able to decipher and decode this information, which is so important to us at this time. The name of the lecture is actually called Return of the Solar Sovereigns. This is actually the lecture that I think is very relevant in giving us a grounded understanding of all of our history here. And then we're going to basically expound on it with the return of the solar sovereigns and show that sovereignty itself is explicitly connected to the solar principle. Okay, Rashid spoke about the solar principle earlier. Dot spoke about the solar principle. And in the solar principle, there is a completeness, a wholeness, that when it's ignored, it can lead us down the path of all types of confusion, you know what I'm saying? All types of conflict, inner conflict as well as external conflict. And so we're going to focus on things that created a lot of dissension and a lot of conflict amongst our people, and also see how we can reestablish the completeness, the wholeness, the unity amongst us, which is inevitable. And that's why we're here right now. And this is basically, I didn't expect to be in Bavaria when I did this lecture so soon. I mean, I was hoping to come out here, and I really didn't anticipate a brother from the nation that I'm in to be here, to welcome me here. That's even bigger than I could even imagine. And like you were just saying about the light spectrum and dark matter, that's basically like saying knowledge born. You know what I'm saying? And knowledge born, that's because the solar principle is complete. You know, that's why it's one. You know what I'm saying? The complete one. And it projected a artificial buffer for it to experience without any real harm coming to itself, so to speak. Now, even the creator, if you really want to understand the creator, you have to just look at yourself. We all take a rest. You know what I'm saying? The creator takes a rest. That's why the scriptures say on the seventh day he rested. You know what I'm saying? So even though the solar principle is projecting itself here as a constant principle, it also needs a rest. Okay? Now, let's get into this, and then we're going to get into that later when we get into ancient Egypt, and we're going to bring the ancient Egyptian history all the way back up to Bavaria and all these indigenous sovereigns right here. Now, on the left, we have Friesing, Bavaria, and on the right, we have the Haupts of Pappenheim, Bavaria. Okay? We're going to quickly recap the Catholic and Protestant Moorish nobility of Europa. Okay? First, we're going to just quickly go into sovereignty, what it's rooted in. It's actually rooted in the indigenous bloodline. All of us have indigenous blood within us and are inherently nobility. Okay? Nadine is a queen. You are, you like I said yesterday, you have to live like a king because you was raised like a prince. Okay? Same thing with me. I come from a very strong woman, and I felt noble. I just felt noble from a child because of all of the love that was surrounding me from my mother, from my grandmother. And it was so befitting that she was here to start off this whole event that we're having, because the grandmother, not just the mother, but the grandmother in all the ancient indigenous traditions, she plays a very, very special role. Now, in synchronicity, if we're going to talk about, like we just got a new black president in the United States, and his name is, of course, everybody knows Barack Obama. His father is from Kenya, and what I did was start to pay a lot of attention to Kenya, because I always look at things that happen at key times. They're showing you a synchronicity on a higher dimension. Kenya, by the Kenyan people, is called Lao, and it means in Kenya, the land of the widowed grandmother. Now, most of us, now to me, I would think that that's very important to us to pay attention to a lot of the different, and also in Kenya, the grandmother is in charge of telling stories that basically, for, you know, as far back as they can remember, the grandmother was the one who was like the griot and carried on the oral tradition of the nation. And there's a few stories that I found very interesting when I studied the Kenyan people. One was a story about Opondo. Opondo was a noble who, him and his wife kept giving birth to reptilian children. And when they first saw the reptilian babies, they would just kill all of the babies. And finally the wife said, we can't keep killing these babies. So she persuaded her husband to keep one of the reptilian children. And they loved the reptilian child just like they would a normal child. And as he grew into adolescence, he would go out to the lake by himself and bathe himself. One day, one of the people from the village snuck out and peeped through the woods and saw him bathing, and he had shed all the reptilian skin, and he was a normal person underneath the reptilian skin. So he ran back and told Opondo. Now, Opondo, he grabbed his wife, they ran out to the lake, and they was like, oh my goodness, the child is normal. And they felt bad because they said, wow, we shouldn't have killed all these other reptilian babies. They were normal too. All we had to do was love them. And so they realized that, you know, their love was transformative. Now, one thing I always tell people is that whatever you hate is only an aspect of your own self that you hate. Because you become what you hate, or you hate what you've become. Now, if you love something, on the other hand, it becomes you. So love is very powerful, very transformative. Another interesting synchronicity with Kenya and Obama being from Kenya, because in my research, I found that everyone in Kenya, last name starts with an O. Like I just told you about Opondo, right? Everyone in Kenya's last name starts with an O. The O is symbolic of the sun disk, or Ra, or Atun, and is very significant with indigenous people. Thank you, my brother. Let me just breeze through this real quick, because I don't want to get sidestepped. Now, sovereignty is the basis for nobility. For all those that don't know, okay, sovereignty is exclusive right to have complete control over an area of governance, people, or oneself. A sovereign is the supreme lawmaking authority, subject to no other. Okay? It says, where's that at? A sovereign, national sovereignty is of an eternal origin, such as nature or a god legitimating the divine right of kings and absolute monarchs, or a theocracy. Okay, we're gonna run through this quickly because I just want to give you our foundation for when we move into this next segment. Now we're gonna deal with the Holy Roman Empire versus the Roman Empire. This is the coat of arms of the Holy Roman Empire. This is kind of a variation that I have on here of the two phoenixes, or you know, you can call them falcons if you want, phoenixes. It looks like phoenixes to me. But this right here is interesting. This is from Old Navy. And as you'll see, the Holy Roman Empire is in fact the Old Navy, or the old maritime law, which Admiralty is under that jurisdiction. Now, in school, we're taught about the Roman Empire, but we're never taught about the Holy Roman Empire. The Roman Empire we're taught about in school was actually not an empire, it was a republic or a nation state. We have been dumbed down over the centuries into not being able to discern the difference between what is a nation state and what's an empire. There are no more empires, okay, or dominions. There are only nation states at the present. Although you had George Bush acting like the United States was an empire, it's really just a nation state. And even in England, where they still have the monarchs, England is not an empire anymore. Okay? Now, an empire, by definition, means a coalition of sovereign monarchs. Now, since sovereignty is rooted in the indigenous people, in all of us, and since we're all inherently noble, we all are inherently kings and queens in our own right. And we all have nobility inherent within us. So the way the Holy Roman Empire was established, it was basically the ancient Germanic tribes would get together and elect an emperor, right? Because kings come together to elect an emperor. Regular people don't elect emperors, or regular persons, I should say. So all of the sovereign indigenous people would come together and elect the emperor to govern the Holy Roman Empire. Now, again, it wasn't hereditary in the sense that if I die, my son becomes the emperor. Every one of us will have a chance to become an emperor at some time or another, okay? Because we are all inherently noble, because again, I want to emphasize that nobility is rooted in the indigenous bloodline, and we being indigenous people are all inherently nobility, okay? Now, the territory of the Holy Roman Empire, and remember, if you're doing some research, one simple word will open up all types of doors for you, and that's the word holy. Because in school, we're taught about a Roman Empire, which really wasn't an empire at all. It was a nation state that got out of control, and eventually it had to be put in check by sovereign nobles, who are the only people that can put out of control nation state in check, because it derives its power from sovereign nobles. It is chartered from sovereign nobles. If you do your research on the United States, you'll find that it was originally chartered by the indigenous sovereigns of North America, our ancestors. The same thing over here. These nation states eventually got out of control. In fact, there was a simultaneous destabilization of an indigenous sovereign network that was global. The same time you had the German Revolution, the French Revolution, the American Revolution, all of these things are happening basically simultaneously, because they're the destabilization of an indigenous network of Aboriginal people who are the true kings and queens of the planet, because it's based on our blood connection to the land masses. Now, the empire extended present-day Germany, which it was actually rooted here, right here in Bavaria, where we're at, is the seat of the Holy Roman Empire. It spanned from Germany, Austria, Switzerland, Liechtenstein, Luxembourg, Czech Republic, Slovenia, Belgium, and the Netherlands, as well as large parts of modern Poland, France, and Italy. All right, for much of the empire's history, it consisted of hundreds of smaller kingdoms, principalities, duchies, counties, free imperial cities, and other domains. Despite its name, the Holy Roman Empire never included Rome within its borders. So the Rome that you know of in Italy was a nation state that paid tributary to the Holy Roman Empire. Nation states originally all paid tributary, and I guess that's why they got out of control. They didn't want to pay tributaries anymore. So they eventually, actually the destabilization took place as a result of a lot of inward fighting amongst nobles, but also intermarrying with people outside of the indigenous bloodline was definitely a major part of the destabilization. Now, the Roman Empire, originally, if you just do your research, you'll realize that it was a republic, and after 500 years, Julius Caesar appointed himself the first perpetual dictator. Now, has anybody ever saw the movie Gladiator? Yeah. Okay, well, in the movie Gladiator, where Russell Crowe is playing the head of the Roman army, the Roman Republic's army out of Italy, they're attacking the old tribes of Bavaria, which is actually a group of indigenous black people who lived right here in Bavaria. This was the seat of their empire. And Russell Crowe attacks them and defeats them. They're also known as the Huns. If you ever hear about the Huns, Attila the Hun, these are all the indigenous black people that were originally right here in Bavaria. Now in the movie, Russell Crowe, after he defeats the Huns, Caesar is standing off to the side and he's having a change of hearts because he's about to die. And a lot of times when you're about to die, you want to make amends for all your wrong deeds and everything and balance out your accounts. So he felt bad because he had just overthrown the people who had chartered him to do business. And he was about to die, so he wanted to make amends. So he told Russell Crowe, look, we're going to have to stop this. As a matter of fact, we got to revert back to a republic immediately. The whole movie Gladiator is about the Roman Empire, really the republic, reverting back to a republic because it was out of control, and Caesar at that time realized it because they had just overthrown the old tribes of Bavaria, who are also, AKA, the Holy Roman Empire, okay? The sovereign monarchs who they paid their tributaries to, they had overthrown them, and his son, of course, didn't want that. He wanted to inherit total dictatorship over Rome, the Roman Republic, so he killed his father himself. And that's the kind of inherent nonsense that goes on when you're dealing with corruption and imbalance. Your own children, you know, can be the end of you. Now, if you Google coat of arms of the Holy Roman Empire, just like that, in Wikipedia, you'll see a question mark because there is no coat of arms for the Roman Empire. It's a republic. We just have been taught, because they throw words around very loosely, that the Roman Republic was an empire. In fact, it was not. It had a flag, but of course it didn't have a coat of arms because this is a sovereign instrument used for conveyance of law. A coat of arms is abbreviated a coat of armor in mail. It's actually used for conveyance of post. Postage is actually the law. As long as you can prove someone has received post from you, that becomes the standing law. So when you send a piece of mail, if you send it notarized, return receipt mail, so you have proof that they received it, that's law. The judge in the courtroom is just a referee. It's like a game of basketball. The referee can't say nothing unless somebody make a foul, because you're on a court. And all contracts are essentially a private affair. They only can become public if you want them to be public. So there is no contest between the Holy Roman Empire and the Roman Empire because one, we know, is a sovereign body which charted this here. So this is a nation state. This is limited liability, by the way. Corporations are limited liability. All right? flesh and blood people are 100% responsible for their actions. And this is why nation states have to be kept in check, because they're limited liability, and if they start wilding out, there's nothing to check them. Now, Constantine, after Constantine was defeated, Charlemagne took to court Constantine and any of the other dictators who claimed inherent nobility to Roman descendancy, because the true Holy Roman Empire was actually seated right here in Bavaria. And they took lawful means to stop people from claiming descendancy to any seat of nobility. This is the flag of the Byzantine Empire, which was basically the last stage of the Holy Roman Empire, of the Roman Republic, when it was under Constantine's rule. Now, I don't mean to confuse you, but remember, Holy Roman Empire, indigenous sovereign Moors out of Bavaria, Roman Empire, really Roman Republic, corporate nation state out of Italy. One paying tributary to the other one because it was chartered. Now we're going to get to the meat and potatoes. Bavaria is the center of the Holy Roman Empire, or the indigenous black sovereign nobles of Europe. This is the mighty Vesta Citadel, one of Europe's largest and most grandest palaces. This is right here in Coburg, Bavaria. I was talking to my brother earlier. He told me this is where most of their administrative law in Bavaria comes from here. It would only make sense because during the time of the Holy Roman Empire, this was the seat of the Holy Roman Empire, of all the indigenous sovereigns of Europe. So they started out here and then they branched out. This palace is also the home of the Windsors of England. This is the real home of the Windsors of England. They left here, right here in Bavaria, because they had to marry into the black bloodlines first and usurped their power, and then they moved out to where my brother D is from, London, okay? And then they changed their name from Coburg to Windsor in 1917. Prior to 1917, what we call the House of Windsor was really the House of Saxe-Coburg-Gotha, with its capital in Coburg, Bavaria. Okay, now in 1914, they changed their name to Windsor for, I would call it marketing or publicity purposes. They had just started World War I, and they didn't want the people of England to start an uprising, because England was at war with Germany, and they were a German royal house ruling England at the time. So it didn't make sense, and that's really the Illuminati question coming into play, straddling both sides of the fence.
Win-win.
Creating problems and then coming with the so-called solutions.
Solutions, yeah.
Okay. This is the coat of arms of Coburg, Bavaria, right now. This is not an old coat. Well, it is an old coat of arms, and it's actually over 1,000 years old. It's not new, I should say. And it has never been changed, even when the House of Wettin, or the family line of Wettin, I should say, married into the Coburg line. The present House of Windsor, they will tell you that they married into this black family line through the name of Wettin. Okay? So the Windsors in England, this is their family crest, or their claim to noble or nobility. Okay? And they are actually the Wettins who married into this line at a time when there were no more male heirs, because male heirs are key in nobility. And I'm not taking nothing away from the women, but essentially, when you're dealing with, when you consider DNA, the mitochondrial DNA, which comes from the woman, takes a snapshot of the past. So it's always looking back to take a snapshot. Remember in Sodom and Gomorrah when they said don't look back, and she looked back? That's because the feminine principle essentially is always taking a look back to just take a snapshot of the past. So that's how you can trace your lineage through your mother, okay? This is why the lineage is actually carried from the mother to the daughter in terms of tracing ancestry back. So what you're doing, Lord, is helping to continue her mitochondrial DNA. If you have a sister, she's continuing your mitochondrial DNA. You understand? Because the woman is taking a snapshot of the past, and that snapshot she's taking is never changing. So the same one that your mother saw, your sister saw, that's how you can trace it back. It's an unchanged part of your DNA. But the male is the catalyst forward. So while the woman is taking a snapshot back here, the male is propelling us forward into the new, to the next paradigm. So that's why male heirs were always coveted in noble families. Of course, this is the present House of Windsor's coat of arms. But remember, from 1917, prior to 1917, there is no history on the House of Windsor because it's a new name made up during World War I when they didn't want the people to start an uprising. And what they did was they made it retroactive. So, for example, there was a book written by Shakespeare called The Merry Wives of Saxe, Coburg, and Gotha. Well, when they changed their name in 1917, they changed the Shakespeare book to The Merry Wives of Windsor. Even though it was a book written over 100 years prior, they made it retro. And this is why when we do our research, we have to pay attention to the time when something is written, because that's the context it is in. This is the coat of arms of Saxe, Coburg, Gotha prior to 1917. And as you can see, it's a Moorish coat of arms with Moorish colors in it, red, black, and green. Now, in nobility, lions and dragons are prominent in all the heraldry or the coats of arms. That's because the lion has a connection with the sun, okay? And dragons also have a connection with the sun. Here you almost see like a lion type of dragon. And one of our ancient names was Naga, which means dragon, because we have the ability to contain large amounts of heat. And we're going to get to some really good things concerning that in a minute. Okay, this is the House of Wettin marrying into Coburg. Coburg was also the place where Charles Edward, Duke of Saxe, Coburg, and Gotha, ended up arrested and tried as a Nazi, because when you do your research, you find that they had to usurp the indigenous Moorish nobles here in Bavaria first, and then they implemented a process of destabilizing the rest of the global network that was there, and they created what's known as the Illuminati, which is an offshoot of the indigenous sovereign Moors that were here as well. And so much as that all the ideas of central banking are all part of the indigenous people that was here. Central banking and all these different, put it like this, the desire to rule a planet as one world government with the United States as a hub is actually an ancient idea already done by the indigenous people, and they're just trying to do everything you did over again. And they actually hide a lot of your history in the United States because that was your hub. Now, he was arrested and tried as a Nazi, and that's when they began to try to distance themselves. Well, they had started the process, but they really started to remove themselves from that name as far as the public is concerned, because it was associated with the Nazis, who were actually financed by the House of Saxe, Coburg, and Gotha. And from 1826 to 1918, Coburg was one of the two capitals of Saxe, Coburg, and Gotha. It was actually the largest capital. And All of the royal ducal weddings that unified all of the royal houses of Europe took place at this palace in Coburg. This is why that palace is very, very important. Okay, all of the palaces were built on high mountains and high altitudes, and they all look down over the city. It was actually a practice of ours to build all of our palaces at high altitudes, and one of the reasons why we picked Bavaria as the central hub of the indigenous black people when we first settled here is because of the high Alps and the high altitudes that are here in Bavaria. Now, there's a district in Bavaria called Garmisch, Bavaria, which is the highest point in Bavaria, and that municipality still has a Moorish coat of arms to this day as well. All of these coats of arms are still intact. Okay, Saxe-Coburg and Gotha was the only European country to appoint a diplomatic consul to the Confederate States of America during the American Civil War. The consul name was Ernest Raven, assigned to a position in the state of Texas. Raven applied to the Confederate government for a diplomatic Ecuador on July 30th, 1861, and was accepted. Now, again, Saxe-Coburg and Gotha was the only state to appoint a diplomatic consul when there was a fight over slavery, because they wanted to perpetuate slavery. Now, remember that their family is not only here in Bavaria, but they have also already positioned themselves in England as the Royal House of England. So they're playing two sides of the fence here. In the movie National Treasure 2, when they're talking about the Olmec legacy, and they're talking about the Olmec gold that they're looking for, they speak about Queen Elizabeth having something to do with the Confederate Army, contrary to historical records and historical accounts. This is actually what they were hinting to, was the fact that Queen Victoria, being really a German family, was playing both sides of the fence and doing it through Saxe-Coburg and Gotha, where she was really raised at. Okay, Henry the Black, this is one of the Holy Roman Emperors who ruled right here out of Bavaria. And here they say black means pious, which is kind of interesting because we never see that anywhere, that black means pious. Okay, this is Henry the Black, Duke of Bavaria. This is about 100 years later. He's one of the more well-known dukes of Bavaria because of his son-in-law Lothair, who he chose over his other son-in-law, and it was a really it's kind of like a complex story over trying to take care of his daughter at the expense of his son, because his daughter was going to marry Lothair. Okay. Coburg, Bavaria, and the palace at Coburg is also where Martin Luther started the German Reformation. That's why it's so very important in really getting a grasp on historical events that, you know, have a reverberating effect around the whole world, and history that's important to everyone around the world. Martin Luther posted his 99 Thesis right on the palace walls at Coburg. And again, this is Coburg's family crest right now, and that's because there was a process of destabilizing a network of indigenous sovereigns. This is Pappenheim, Bavaria. This is the coat of arms of Pappenheim, Bavaria right now. This is also over 1,000 years old. Pappenheim was considered the seat of the hereditary imperial marshals of the Holy Roman Empire. So this was the army that went out and took care of whatever business we had to take care. Now, if you do any research on the Crusades, you'll see that all of the field marshals are named Pappenheim, because it was a hereditary seat, as is nobility. Nobility is rooted in bloodline, so it's all based on hereditary blood. Okay? Pappenheim comes from the word Papo or Pippin, which means father. or elder. And he defeated the Alemanni tribe. What you must remember is that all of these tribes were all black, and there was a lot of inward fighting amongst us. And again, our problem has been inward fighting amongst each other. If we can stop that, we're good to go. Because no one can really defeat us without our help. And you know, all wars have always been fought with our help by our so-called adversaries. Now, this is Fussen, Bavaria. This is where one of the largest and most well-preserved Gothic palaces is, and is still in very good shape. This is Freising, Bavaria. This was the seat of the Archdiocese of the Holy Roman Empire. This was like the original Vatican. Now, Freising, Bavaria is where the original Pope, where the Pope that's the Pope now, Pope Benedict.
That's where he's from?
This is where he was the cardinal at before he was made the present Pope. Now, the man on the picture is actually the founder of Freising, Bavaria, a brother named Saint Corbinius. Now, Saint Corbinius has a really interesting story because he was traveling through the Alps and a pack of wild bears attacked his horse. He subdued the bears and made one of the bears carry his luggage and him over the Alps. I guess he was on his way maybe to Garmisch, Bavaria, which is the highest municipality in the Alps, also a Moorish municipality. But as you can see in his coat of arms when he was cardinal, he had a depiction of Corbinius as well as his present coat of arms. As we know, he was a Nazi youth, which you can't fault him for because all the youth in Germany at that time was a Nazi youth. Okay? But he did say some kind of rather provocative things towards Islam, which had me kind of wonder about him. This is another version of his present coat of arms as Pope. And of course, he has Saint Corbinius in the coats of arms. And you know, you hear people talking about it and they don't really understand what they're saying. And they're like, why does he have a black man in his coat of arms? But a little bit of research, we're in the information age, you'll find that this man is the founder, of course, of Freising, Bavaria, because all of these municipalities were part of the Holy Roman Empire, or the empire of indigenous sovereign Moors who existed right here in Bavaria. But what they're doing now is mixing truth with falsehood, because since he was the cardinal of the true seat of the Archdiocese of the indigenous empire, they now have made him the Pope of the Artifice, or the Republic, which never was included within the borders. Okay? We're gonna just breeze through some of this because I wanna get to some of the new stuff. This is pretty much a recap. Napoleon again, he was a descendant of indigenous people as well. All these people in seats of nobility had to marry into indigenous bloodlines in order to assert their ascension to the throne. This is Pastet in Bavaria. And all of these, in doing my research, I found that when they originally came here in around the 2nd century, there was a lot of fighting, and they were not established strong until after the Roman Republic was shut down, because when they first chartered the Roman Republic, they were not fully together as one nation. So the Roman Republic was able to get away with a lot of stuff. In fact, you know, after a while they came and attacked them and defeated them. It was not until Islamic nobles came to their aid and helped them defeat the Roman Republic that they were reestablished as the Holy Roman Empire. And of course, that would let us know that there was never a conflict between Islamic nobility and Catholic and Protestant nobility. Even though we have been taught that there was, you know, the Muslims came in and did all this stuff and all of that, in all actuality, what they've been trying to do is conceal the fact that the original Catholic and Protestant nobility is Moorish as well, and there was no conflict. In fact, they helped one another all along. This is Garmisch, Bavaria. This is the highest mountain of Germany. And this is still the coat of arms to this day. Again, in Bavaria is where you find all of the coats of arms intact for these municipalities. Okay, Ali Walid Muhammad Averroes, this was a brother who basically was plagiarized, and he gave them a lot of literature on Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle. What you got to remember is a lot of the stuff that you were taught in school, like the Pythagorean theorem, these things you're taught using Arabic numerals. So they're teaching you so-called Roman mathematics, but they're teaching you them with Arabic numerals. You can't do complex mathematical equations with Roman numerals. It's impossible. The history has really been distorted, but it's not too hard to put together if you just open your eyes and, like the brother Rashid said, admit that you've been lied to, and then challenge yourself to discern from what you can do the knowledge to, and you make it your truth. You shape and mold and create yourself, because Atum or Atan, the complete one, means the self-created one as well. So if you're not creating yourself, you will never be complete. Okay? This is the coronation mantle of the Holy Roman Emperors. So whenever a Holy Roman Emperor would take office, he would do a ceremony with this robe. The interesting thing about this robe is that it was actually made by Arabic artisans for the Norman kings, and again, contrary to popular opinion, there was no conflict because the Islamic Moors or the Islamic nobles were the one who shut down the Roman Republic when it got out of hand in regards to the Catholic and Protestant nobility. Now we're going to, this is the Ottoman Empire. These are the brothers that shut down the Roman Republic. Yeah. This is the empire that shut down the Roman Republic when it got out of hand, and they basically helped to reestablish the Catholic and Protestant black nobility that was seated right here in Bavaria.
Oh, they look like pirates.
Well, they was, I spoke to a brother again. These was actually the pirates of the Caribbean. They ruled the seas, and they were traveling back and forth over here. Even though that kind of history has been suppressed, it's still there. So I'm just giving you some things to spark you so you can do some research and validate this information for yourself. This is Osman Kara Bey, the chief sovereign of the Ottoman Empire at that time. Now, Kara in Turkish means black. So his name is really Osman Black Bey, or Osman the Black Bey, chief sovereign of the Ottoman Empire. Now, Bey is a Turkish word for chieftain, and many Moors using the word Bey don't realize that the first Beys were of the Ottoman Empire, who are also part of our history, but they've suppressed that or separated that by having us think that the Ottomans have nothing to do with the Islamic Moors from Spain or the Catholic and Protestant Moors from right here in Bavaria, and so forth and so on. But it's one global network, and it's actually one family. Okay? Salim and Suleiman, they had enjoyed victories all throughout Europe in reestablishing the indigenous people and rescuing indigenous people from the hands of the Inquisitionists and so forth like that. This is a crown of Ivan Baski, also made by Islamic sovereigns for their Catholic and Protestant brothers who were nobility as well. There was never a conflict between Islam and Christianity or Judaism, because the Bible and the Quran basically are talking about the same people and the same history, the history of the oldest family on the planet, which is our family. Okay, this is Muhammad II, who started the modernization of Turkey, and basically he incorporated more European styles of clothing, agriculture, and innovations, and abandoned, because again, we were intermarrying with people other than our own bloodline. So it was a lot of our own undoing as well. Okay, let's just move through here. Now we all know, again, that the Illuminati has its origins right here in Bavaria through Adam Weishaupt. Well, what you don't know is that Adam Weishaupt is also a descendant of black people. He married into black blood as well. The first family crest I showed at the top of the lecture was actually a Haupt crest, and he's a descendant of the Haupts. Okay, now everybody knows that the Illuminati is basically a plot to overthrow the so-called kings and queens of Europe and the world. Well, when you read the Cosmic Trigger, you find that the nobility of Europe is actually behind the Illuminati, so they can't be trying to undermine their own positions. They're actually trying to perpetuate something that's taken place a long time ago, which was the destabilization of the indigenous sovereign monarchs of Europe. Okay, that's the Haupt coat of arms again, which is where Adam Weishaupt is a descendant of. Even the Rothschilds, okay, Rothschild meaning red shield, are descendants of black people, and they all claim descendants from these black nobles who are the true indigenous people of this land. Now, this is the oldest Haupt crest. This is a more modern Haupt crest. As you can see, indigenous, aboriginal, as is all the family crests of the nobility in Europe. Now we're going to just, does anybody have a question about the Moorish nobility of Europe and being centered in Bavaria before I move on to the next segment? Okay.
Yeah, okay, I got a question.
Okay.
The family crest, when I looked at my last name, Hart, you know, it went all the way back to Germany. And the family crest was red and blue. And it had like a white lion and a white, looked like a stallion or something like that. What do you think it means?
Well, the lion again, nobility is connected with the sun. This is what I'm about to get into now. The lion is connected with the sun because the sun was said to be, you know, like the constellation that the sun is represented by Leo, right?
Yeah.
And the horse, right, is also connected with nobility because the horse is connected to the number 7. Okay? If you play chess, for example, you know how to play chess?
Yeah, intermediate.
Intermediate. What's the move that the horse makes?
Horse makes an L shape.
L is an upside down 7, right? A L is a 7, and you could say the horse makes a 7 or L, and that's why God is also in ancient times referred to as L, you know? So you say L, or you say 7, right? If you study the Chinese zodiac, you'll find that the 7th zodiac is the horse. Because all these things were basically created by the same ancient Egyptian priests. Now, that last lecture, now we're gonna get into ancient Egypt, and we're gonna work our way from ancient Egypt on up to the modern paradigm.
True, just before you move on, what I wanted to ask, you see on a lot of the coats of arms there, you've got like very deliberate depictions with the features, the red lips and so forth, the curly hair. What we've got in Europe, I don't know if it's in the States, like the Gollywog character.
Well, what they do is, you know, they make a mockery of it by, you know, put it like this. In ancient Egypt, the hieroglyph for heaven is a face with big lips and a big nose. So big lips and a big nose was considered heavenly by indigenous people. So when we drew big lips and big nose, we weren't mocking ourselves. Just like when you look at the old chocolates that were from that era, right? They had pictures of Moors with exaggerated features, because when you see some of the old statues, you'll see that our most ancient ancestors had big lips, big noses, strong features, dominant features, and they were considered heavenly. When you write the word Heru in hieroglyphics, You write it with a flak rope, which is symbolic of the DNA, next to the face with the big lips and the big nose. And this is how they accent it. They write the face with the big lips and the big nose, and then they put more big lips under the face, right? Just to accent it, like, yeah, you know? And then they put the birds that are symbolized for Haru on the side. But that's because our features, again, are considered heavenly.
Why I'm stressing that is because, one, there's like a big campaign in the UK because, well, even up to now in Cornwall on the 26th of December every year, the whole town in Cornwall, this particular town, they dress up in blackface, put on the big wigs, pin up their lips, and basically enough of our people in the UK being like, look, how is this still going on? Blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, no.
But they're not dissing you.
Well, this is what I know. This is what I mean.
They're celebrating your history
That's right.
in a way that, you know, that you're not even aware of it.
And the same thing in Holland. I went to Amsterdam 2 years ago, and during the Christmas period, everywhere you went, they've got them in the windows, the people dress up as them. I mean, I've taken snaps everywhere that I went, but you see it, and I said the same thing. I know that this is, once you know the story.
Once you know the history, you realize that, yeah, they know. All of these municipalities have our print all over it.
It's actually called Darky Day. That's what they call it in the UK, Darky Day.
Darky Day. Well, it's interesting because today is the Dead Sunday.
It's Darky Day.
Darky Day right now. You know, what's interesting though, look, check this out. They say that the center of the universe is right between Sagittarius and Scorpio. Right? Has anybody ever heard that? Well, they say that the center of the universe, or the photon belt, is right around the middle of Saturn and Scorpio. And that's where we are right now, in the middle of Saturn and Sagittarius and Scorpio. We're leaving Scorpio and entering Sagittarius. So this is a special time that, you know, is commemorated not only here in Bavaria, but I guess all around the universe. You know, so everything is in synchronicity, and again, synchronicity is our opportunity to go through a wormhole, so to speak, and enjoy a hyperdimensional perspective of something, because nothing happens by chance. Everything that's lined up is showing you something, because synchronicity is hyperdimensional perception.
Let's change this thing.
I just wanted to add on real quick. Since we're moving into the Aquarian age, it was befitting to bring the Aquarius here to set off the energy around the whole thing. My mother goddess is an Aquarius. So she had to come, and she had to be the first one.
Absolutely.
So
she's ushering in a whole new age. You understand? And that's...
See that battery pack real quick?
Okay.
Let's put a fresh one in there. Keep the cells fresh.
But what we must remember, the physical age that we're in is only that which is dealing with the physical form. The polar opposite, because when you see a sign, poles, right? Everything has a polar opposite. Form, right? But to be whole and complete, we have to also consider the polar opposite of that. The ancient Egyptian priests, right, would, when they got out of control, when the priesthood was really, because the priesthood got corrupt for a while, and what the priesthood would do is they would keep information from the masses. They would have the people worshiping the age and keep the fact from them that they were worshiping the totality of the energy by honoring the other half. You know? So like with the Piscean age, which was the Christ age, the other half of that is Virgo. Nephthys. You know what I'm saying? That which is suckling. So he's sitting on her lap. You get it? Being suckled. But that's for a time because that's his polar balance. Virgo gives birth to the sun. You get it? So that's how that story is together. So to get the whole story.
Naphtali that I spoke about is Mercury. It's ruled by Mercury.
Yeah, just like Virgo. Virgo is ruled. I'm telling you, Virgo is Naphtali.
It is.
It is. In ancient Egypt. So this is why we got to go back to ancient Egypt, because this is going to show us why the sun is so important. Because we were talking about the simplicity of technology. And the most simplest technology is the sun technology. That's the simplest technology out, Jay. You go right out in the sun, you good. You know, you go out in the sun, you good money. Even when we're asleep and our DNA is not fully activated, we can still get nutrients from the sun, like vitamin D, you know. But we can also, when we heighten our activity of our DNA, we can get all of the energy and nutrients we need. In fact, we photosynthesize just like plants. We photosynthesize just like plants. And the sun is symbolic of the completeness of the creative force. It was said in ancient Egypt that Ra, the creator, made the sun in this dimension for him to dwell in his totality. You know what I'm saying? It's his house. That's his house. You know what I'm saying? So he made the sun for him to dwell in, and that's where the unification comes in. One of our reasons for falling is because as we fragmented ourselves or fragmented the creative force, we became fragmented. So it all relates. Okay, this is, again, this is called the return of the solar kings, because in my research I found that the solar wind, or Shu, is of the utmost importance in understanding nobility and unlocking a lot of the keys and the hidden mysteries that has been in people's face all along, but they haven't been able to quite grasp it. Let's go on. This is the outline for the lecture. Ancient Kemet, Kepra, Ra, and Ata. At night, he's in his boat, sailing across the sky, Nut. But he's resting. As I said earlier, even the creator principle rests. You know, 7 days he rests, took a break. I'm just gonna rest for a minute.